A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studio. Titans in pads today, first time of the season. In fact, I'm so thrown off, I have at the top of my notes, 7:30:23. It is not 7:30:23, it's 7:31, the last day of July. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So let's get started on we'll start with just an overview of practice today with the pads on, and then we'll get to the theme of today's practice. Does that sound okay?
Sounds like a great idea.
Okay. So today was a lot of red zone work with the pads on, so there was a lot of 7-on-7 in the red zone, a lot of 11-on-11 in the red zone. And, all the receivers, all the quarterbacks, all the linemen, all the defensive linemen, all the guys in the secondary, everybody got reps. Now, it was hot, but I didn't think it was that hot, to be honest with you. I mean, it's been hotter. Tannehill was okay. They started off in 7-on-7. Third throw got intercepted by Sean Murphy bunting. It was an underthrow intended for Hopkins. I wrote down in my notes that I thought it might have been a miscommunication, but then listening to Vrabel today after practice, it kind of sounds like that was on Tannehill, in which he underthrew a ball for Hopkins. Hopkins was a good step or two ahead of it. Willis continues to look okay. I mean, I really thought Willis had some nice throws today, had some ones that probably wish he could have back. For the day, again, they were 7-on-7, they were 11-on-11. Tannehill got sacked a couple of times, which I don't like. Running the ball, who can tell? Now, I did think the offensive line got some nice push a little bit when they were running the ball. Field goal kicking, good for the most part. Shudak did miss one of them today, which I didn't like. And then they went back again to the red zone stuff. Malik had a nice little touchdown today on an option where he options it out, and he fakes the pitch, and he keeps it, and he gets kind of the linebacker to bite on the fake, and Malik keeps it and cuts upfield. And so for the day, Tannehill, according to my notes, 5 of 9, 2 sacks, 1 interception, and he did have one ball that was incompleted, does not count towards the 9, because Christian Fulton was covering DeAndre Hopkins in the corner of the end zone, and I thought there was interference, and then I turned to Joe after the play. It was a good ball from Tannehill, and I turned to Joe afterwards, and I just gave him like the little motion, like throwing a flag in the air, and Joe was like, yes. So I thought it was a flag, and then I saw that, and I'm like, okay, flag. Plus, they're going to flag Fulton on a guy like DeAndre Hopkins every time. So Tannehill, 5 of 9, 2 sacks. Not his fault, but 2 sacks. Don't like that. Willis, 6 of 9, no interceptions today, and 2 rushing touchdowns in the red zone. He seems to have a much better feel, in my opinion, in the red zone, but really just when to take off, what he's looking for, who he's looking at. I didn't think he had a lot of good instinctual ability last year in terms of his running. Definitely looks a lot better there. Levis, 6 of 7. Now, the story of practice today was Will Levis's day. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a thing. I'm not proclaiming that it means anything more than Will Levis today at practice looked like the man. I know he was up against third stringers, but he was also playing with third stringers. And they kind of moved him and Malik around a little bit, and I think that's something that we'll see a little bit more of going forward, where at one point in the 11-on-11 in the red zone, Willis jumped out and Levis jumped in with the 2s for a snap, and then later Willis jumped in with the 3s for a snap. So I think we'll see maybe a little bit of that. But today was Will Levis's day. In fact, we'll just go over all of the Will Levis throws, because I watched him today zip the ball, and he looked every bit the part of a top draft pick. When you hear Mel Kiper Jr. before the draft comparing him to Matthew Stafford and to Troy Aikman and to some of those guys, it's really easy to think that that's crazy talk. And it might be. But today, Will Levis, the zip on the football, tight window throws, accurate, confident. Today was Will Levis's day. In fact, let's just go over the notes of Levis's throw. This is 7 on 7. This is 7 on 7. And again, a lot of today was red zone. So when I say he throws like 4 touchdowns in a row, that's because they're in the red zone, so the ball's already there. 8, completion, 33, big gain over the middle. Effortless, good ball. So that's the first note I have from Will Levis today. Effortless, good ball. 8, complete, 82. By the way, that's Trayshawn Hamilton, and his name just keeps coming up over and over and over again. I would not rule him out yet. 8, complete to 82. Tight window throw, 20 yards over the middle. Again, effortless, great ball. 8, complete to 80. Perfect throw. Now, the fourth throw in the 7 on 7. 8, complete, short right for 80. Now, it was complete, but it was, kind of like a check down throw. And he wasn't very good. So Levis, the first 4 throws, zip, great, zip, great, zip, great. Little toss out of the backfield, not good. Keep that in mind. We'll get to that in a little bit. Levis in 11 on 11. I put 8 incomplete for 19 in the corner of the end zone. Good throw, good coverage 39. 8 complete. This is the next throw from Levis. 8 complete, 80. Powerful, tight in all caps. Powerful, tight throw. Again, Will Levis 6 for 7. And again, the incompletion that he threw in my notes, I put good pass. 6 for 7, 4 touchdowns in the red zone. Guys, you may not like Will Levis, and I know a lot of you out there don't. You may be rooting against Will Levis, which, for whatever reason it may be, whether it's because you think he's some spoiled, crybaby, or you don't like his trash talking, and you don't like his confidence that you may think is arrogance, or whatever it may be. For whatever reason, you don't like Will Levis. Today was not a good day for you. If you are somebody who, like me, sees Justin Herbert signed for $262.5 million last week and prays that one day the Tennessee Titans will be fortunate enough to draft a franchise quarterback who's big, who's strong, who's durable, who plays in all the games, who can make something with his legs, who's got a great arm, and can freaking fire the ball on a line 80 yards down the field to a streaking receiver for a big touchdown. Today was a good day because Will Levis showed that cannon of an arm. He showed good accuracy, tight ball placement in tight windows and high leverage throws inside the red zone. What does it mean? I don't know. Right now, I'm not going to look at today's performance from Will Levis and think about it meaning anything more than just one good day of practice. I was out there on Saturday, and I certainly was not as impressed with Levis on Saturday as I was today. I thought Levis and Malik on Saturday looked fine, but certainly I didn't think that I wasn't wowed by either guy. Levis today, he looked the part of Mel Kuiper Jr. comparing him to Matthew Stafford. He was great. Now, again, there's a lot of things, and I almost feel like, and I'm not going to read your text at the beginning of the show, but I almost feel like I can just imagine what the text line is saying right now, and I'm sure there are some people saying, oh, Jared, who cares about one day of practice? Who cares against third stringers out there when he's with the threes? Who cares about? And all I can tell you is this is all we have to go off of. Like, this is it. And I'm not making any broad determinations on Will Levis's future or his career or even this season based off of today's day of practice. I mean, I told you guys that I would not, for better or worse, would not criticize Levis if he had a bad day, and I would not praise Levis or change my opinion of Levis. If he has a bad throw, I'm going to criticize him, and if he, makes good plays, we're going to praise him. But I'm not going to change my opinion of Levis off of one practice. Remember what Bill Polian said. Nobody gets evaluated until the first preseason game. So I'm not going to tell you where I think Levis and Malik are in terms of the quarterback battle because I don't know. And we still have 2 weeks before they play the Chicago Bears, and I think both guys are going to play. But just taking today for what it is worth, Will Levis looked great. Will Levis looked great. He looked like an NFL quarterback. And those tight window throws he was making, I mean, each one, again, I tell you, these notes that I took, it wasn't like I went back after practice and redid my notes to have great throw next to all of these throws from Will Levis. I wrote this at the time that it happened. First one, effortless, good ball. Second one, again, effortless, great ball. Third one, perfect throw. His one incompletion, 8, incomplete for 19. Good throw. Will Levis was wonderful today. Today was an encouraging day from the Will Levis standpoint. And what's funny is I stood kind of in the corner of the end zone for most of it today, depending upon which side they were going to. And so I was down there. You know, normally I'm a pretty big socializer. I wasn't doing a lot of cutting up today. I wasn't doing a lot of socializing back in the corner of the end zone. And when it was over, I went to walk up to Joe to say, hey, what'd you think of Levis? And before I even got anything out, Joe said to me, dude, Levis was cooking today. I was like, okay, thank you. And then Levis went out and signed autographs after practice. I wouldn't say there were a lot of people there, but I mean, it was a fair amount. And there were all these kids lined up. And Levis signed autographs for like 40 minutes. Even after the horn blew, Levis was still signing autographs. And the media was just standing there waiting for Levis to be done signing autographs to talk to him because I thought he was that impressive today, and apparently so did everybody else. So we're not going to make too much of this. We're not going to proclaim Will Levis the next Justin Herbert today. We're not going to say he's challenging Tannehill for the job. We're not even going to say that today's practice gives him a step up on Malik in the quarterback competition because, again, it was just one day of practice. But to me, the story of practice today was Levis. Because Levis was awesome. Now, the one thing I did say, okay, let's put this to the side, and I want to get back to that. And that's that bad throw. He has a beautiful throw, 20 yards over the middle of the field. He has a beautiful throw into a tight window, just a fast ball, just so effortless. He's got a perfect throw for his third one, and then he's got a little short check down to the right, and it was a bad throw. Now, Reggie Robertson made a nice little play on it to make the adjustment to catch it. And it reminds me of the Georgia game when I watched the tape, when it came to Will Levis. And there was a drive right before the half where Kentucky had the ball, and it was still a ball game, and they were deep in their own territory, and it was 3rd and short. And Gary Danielson on the TV broadcast says, Will Levis, they've got to get a first down here. Not because they need to go down the field and score before the half, but because they just need to keep Georgia from getting the ball back. And Levis on a play-action rollout tries to dump the ball off to the back, who would have cut it upfield and probably gained 15 yards, an easy first down, and Levis overshoots him. Hits him at the top of his hands, and the running back leaps, and he can't make the catch, and the ball hits the ground, and Kentucky punted to Georgia. Georgia went down the field, scored a touchdown right before the half. So that one bad throw he had today, that's not nothing. That can be a big throw in an NFL game. It's already a big throw in an SEC game. And he's struggling with that, just like Rick Spielman and Greg McElroy said, Will Levis struggles to put touch on the ball. That's something that we've been watching. We asked Rabel about it the first day of training camp. But when the biggest knock on somebody at a day of practice when they're wearing pads is, well, one of his completions was bad, I'd say that's a pretty good day. Good day for Will Levis. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I think that is the story of practice today. And coming up next, the quarterback competition. What Mike Vrabel said about the backup quarterback competition. Tannehill is the starter. But we've got a real competition at number 2. What Vrabel had to say about that, that's next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. Boy, I tell you, it's a bad day for the Will Levis haters today.
Well, there's a whole bunch of them around here, so hopefully they can take it okay in stride.
It's a bad day. Hey, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day, and our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Plus, we're going to be giving away Sounds baseball tickets later today. So be listening for your chance to win. In fact, maybe in the next segment, I'll have like a little bit of a trivia question or something, or maybe, and then later you'll have to remember it, and you'll win those 4-pack of tickets to the Sounds. Does that sound like a good idea, Ian?
Sure.
Tune in for Sounds Baseball tomorrow at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Durham Bulls, the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure.
Here we go, in and out of the huddle.
Training camp is underway in the Music City.
We want to try to make sure that we're developing a team.
And we have you covered.
Could Peter Skoronsky be an option at tackle?
How quickly can DeAndre Hopkins get going?
We'll be broadcasting live from training camp with the latest news and storylines from practice.
Ryan Tannehill in the last year of a contract.
It's a different team. It's a different roster.
Training camp coverage is brought to you by the Simmons Bank Open, Caudill Vet Clinic, and Parman Energy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want. But unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Parman Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Parman Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You preach compete on a daily basis. How much have you enjoyed so far watching the 2 young quarterbacks compete on the field?
I think it's been great. I think it's been great. I think that they, all push each other and again, you see them getting excited for each other, and you're allowed to do that and still compete and still want to try to win the competition. So I think they both have done some really good things. There's some plays that both of them would like to have back. Again, one day isn't going to make or break anything, but hopefully we can come back tomorrow without a script and put the ball down and see how they function and operate and move through the different situations that we give them tomorrow and see how they lead their unit, whether it's the second group or the third group, and they'll both have opportunities with each of those different groups. So I like where both of them are at. I guess it's nice to have two young guys here that you can develop and work with.
There you go, Vrabel talking about Willis and Levis. And it is obvious from that cut that there is a real quarterback battle for the number 2 spot. Let me say this. After watching those, what Malik was last year and Logan Woodside, I guess, battle it out. I don't know. Malik was always going to make the team, just like Levis is always going to make this team. Although I do think, today, I don't want to do this because it's still early in practice, and Levis had a good day today, but it's just one good day. I'm not making any proclamations about the quarterback battle. I'm not telling you, Levis has the edge on Willis, or Willis has the edge on Levis, or because Levis was good today, put him ahead of Willis, or I'm not doing any of that. Because I just don't think that that's right. In fact, I'm not even going to give you my opinion that if the Titans had a regular season game today, if New Orleans was tomorrow, week 1 on the road, who would be the backup quarterback? I am not going to give you my opinion because I think it is too early. I think it's too early. And that's okay. Paul Kaharski gave me a lecture the other day, which I was a little surprised by. But it was a lecture about, why does everything have to be decided today? Why do you have to talk about who's going to make the team? Why do you have to talk about who's going to be there? Why do you have to? And it's like, well, first of all, dude, you did talk radio for 15 years. You know how this works. I was telling Gentry Estes today, I was like, let me tell you something that gets people fired up. Whether or not Tannehill will be the quarterback in 2024. That is a topic that will get people worked up. And I've told you with the Titans, the approach that they've taken on Tannehill and Henry and Byard and that crew is, we'll see. We'll see how they do this year. And if they do well, then they stay. And if they don't, then they'll tear it down. And I think with Levis and Willis, I actually think Vrabel's telling you the truth there, which is I think they're also in the we'll see approach to this when it comes to these two guys. I think he's looking at this quarterback battle and sees a good day from Willis and a bad day apparently last Friday from both of them, and then a good, okay day on Saturday. And then I thought that Willis was okay today. Certainly didn't think Willis was bad by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I liked Willis's decision-making with running the ball in the red zone. I really did today. But I just thought Levis was excellent. So it's okay not to have the final answer right now. It's okay to have an old-fashioned camp battle. When I was a kid, we used to have camp battles. We used to have camp battles for starting quarterback positions. Real battles where one day he'd be starting with the ones and the next day you'd be starting with the ones. And we don't really do that much anymore. And I understand why, because all these offensive schemes and systems are normally devised around the quarterback. So when I'm making all of my game plans and when I'm coming up with how I want to install my offense, I have it with a certain quarterback in mind. Like Tim Kelly would not be putting in the same offense he's putting in right now if Lamar Jackson were the quarterback as opposed to Ryan Tannehill. And these guys aren't all interchangeable, even though we want to act like they are. They're not. But a camp battle's okay. And I think we've got a camp battle at the backup quarterback spot. And I think those two are pushing each other. And I think it's great. I get excited. I asked Vrabel about, as a guy who loves competing, how much does that excite him? But I'm thinking about me. That's exciting that you've got a young guy, Will Levis, who was a highly heralded draft prospect, fell in the draft. You have Malik Willis, kind of a similar thing, except he fell even further, and he was absolutely horrendous last year. This is exciting. And so, again, Paul is right. They don't have to decide today. And I don't think they have decided today. And I'll tell you right now, I haven't decided today, which is exactly why when I say, like, hey, I'm not going to tell you if they had a game at New Orleans today, who would be the starting quarterback or who would be the backup. Tannehill is the starter. Who would be the backup? How close is Levis to Willis? How close is Willis to Levis? I'm not going to tell you because we haven't had the first preseason game yet. And then once we have the first preseason game, then we can talk about where they stand. And if I was the coach of this team, as things are right now, Tannehill's with the ones, Willis is with the twos. Levis popped in a little bit today with the twos. Willis popped in a little bit with the threes. If I was the coach of the team, I would keep it like that until the first preseason game at Chicago. And then I would play Willis in the first quarter because he's older. I'd play Willis in the first quarter. I'd play Levis in the second quarter. I'd play Willis in the third quarter. And I'd play Levis in the fourth quarter. And then we'd go from there. That way, they're both going to play with the second string guys in the first quarter and the second quarter, and then they're going to play with the third string guys in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And everybody who's not what I call a varsity player, everybody will play in the preseason, including my entire starting offensive line. Burks, Okonkwo, Henry, Hopkins, Byard, Simmons, Autry, Key, Landry, Fulton, Azeez Al-Shire, those guys can take off the first preseason game. Everybody else plays. By the way, we also have a middle linebacker battle as well. I think that Jack Gibbons is in front of that. I think Jack Gibbons is probably going to win it. Let's get to some of your phones. 615-737-1025, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Texter Ben from Nashville says, Jared, I'm curious, how many of Willis's touchdowns today would you guess were second or third reads? Is he going through progressions well? I mean, I think so. It's hard to see at one time without a replay, without the ability to watch the tape and then say, oh, okay, you can see how he's moving through his reads. I only wrote one time that he held on to the ball too long. So I guess he's doing fine. I mean, I'll tell you the reads that I liked, the one where he kept it on the option, faked the pitch and ran up and cut in for a touchdown in the end zone. I like that read. Because his reads in the RPOs last year really left a lot to be desired. And then there was one where normally when the quarterback scrambles in practice, it's actually a bad thing because they can't hit the quarterback. But in the red zone, Malik took off and ran in the end zone for a touchdown. And I thought it was a quick 1-2, not there, go. And I liked it. It almost felt, instinctive, which, again, was not Malik's strong suit last year. Texter into the text line says, Levis. Wow. Got Willis and Levis all on
I've been doing that in my head. Will Levis and, Malik Willis. I'm all over the place.
It's hard, their names are close enough, but far enough apart that Texter says, is Levis ready for second or first team reps? Not going there. See, here we go. Good day of practice. Oh, is he ready for first team reps?
Throw him up there.
Oh, my God. Oh, no. It was a good day at practice. It was very encouraging. I like what I saw out of Will Levis. Can we just, again, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but can we just enjoy that for just one day and then get to the first team reps? By the way, I would not give Will Levis or Malik Willis a single first-team rep this year because I think Ryan Tannehill needs those with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, even today, Tannehill's third throw was an interception by Sean Murphy-Bunting in which DeAndre Hopkins was ahead of the ball. And the way Vrabel talked about it, it sounded like it was Tannehill's fault. So I wouldn't even pretend to think about that. Now, I would put them both behind the first-team offensive line, but that's because in these preseason games, I'm putting the first-team offensive line out there. Now, I'm not putting Tannehill out there. Hey, tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game for driver interviews leading up to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix presented by Lincoln Tech's NADC and the Nashville Sheriff. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix will be 3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event, and that's this Friday through Sunday. So unless you're going there, do not drive downtown this weekend just because, it's going to be all Grand Prix'd out. So there is one take I do have about the backup quarterback battle that I will share today. One that I feel like is appropriate to share, I will share, and we'll do that next. 615-737-1025. We'll get back to your phones again. Good day today at practice for Will Levis. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ryan Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators. And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey folks, Joe Rexo here. I want you to know Twin Peaks is the place for your fantasy football draft party. Their draft party package gives league commissioners and its members an elevated, easy experience along with scenic views. At Twin Peaks, your draft party package includes a draft board, player stickers, a $50 bonus commissioner card, a $5 bonus card per league member, and a premium table reservation with Wi-Fi. Get to Twin Peaks this year for your fantasy football draft party. Locations in Madison and Cool Springs.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This week at the Electronic Express Summer Clearance Sales Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all major appliances in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, purchase now, pay later with up to 5-year special financing. Shop the Summer Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad.
It's Chase McKay.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
I know there's always daily ups and downs, Will, but still, anytime like you have a day like today where you had the back-to-back TD passes, nice little boost of confidence, make you feel like you're making some strides.
Yeah, I mean, every time, like I missed a throw over the middle the other day, it's like you don't think about it, but then you end up going back and rewatching it for the dozenth time that night and figuring out, like, hey, what could I have done better just to make that throw not happen the next time. And you're an NFL quarterback. You're never supposed to miss that throw, you know? But then you come out and you get string some good plays together and you regain that confidence. And I think that definitely helped me a little bit.
There you go. That's Will Levis today after practice. I'll give Will Levis high marks. He had a great day at practice, and his comments afterwards were nothing about, for all you people that think he's so cocky and arrogant, it really, I listened to the whole thing. There wasn't really a lot of juice in there, which is actually good. Good. It was a good day today for Will Levis. One thing I will say, again, we got a backup quarterback battle. Rabel basically said that today, that he's enjoyed watching Malik Willis and Will Levis compete for the backup job. And as Bill Polian said, nobody gets evaluated until the first preseason game, so I don't think it would be fair to say, okay, well, I think, Willis is here, and I think Levis is here, and I think with a good day of practice, then the other one can go there, and I just, it's okay to have a quarterback battle and say, today, Levis was good. Let's see how Willis is tomorrow. And Willis was not bad today by any stretch of the imagination. The one thing I will say is if Malik Willis is going to be the backup quarterback of this team, he's really going to have to win the job. Because I think the deck is going to be stacked in favor of Will Levis. He's younger contract-wise. I don't know their exact ages, but he is younger contract-wise than Malik Willis, which is important. He was a second-round pick, not a third-round pick, which is important. In college, Will Levis played in a pro-style offense. Malik Willis is just learning how to play into a pro-style offense. And Malik has the disappointment of what he did on the field last season still on his resume, and Levis doesn't. So, I mean, again, if all things are, if there's a tie that goes to the runner at the end of training camp, after the 3 preseason games, after the 4 joint practices, 2 with Minnesota, 2 with New England, the tie is going to go to the younger guy, in this case, Levis. So the tie will go to the runner. So Malik Willis is going to have to win that job. But so far, he's done his part. 615-737-1025. Texter texts in and says, I am so excited. I cannot wait for the preseason. I've never cared for preseason until this year solely for the backup quarterback spot. I want Willis to improve, but Levis has a chip on his shoulder for being Ran Carthon's guy. Iron sharpening iron with the effort it sounds like at practices. I'll just say this. I don't think it was an accident that the offseason Player of the Year award winner was Ryan Tannehill, and that while Malik Willis didn't win the offseason Player of the Year award, Vrabel wanted to make sure to mention Malik Willis and the work that he put in and just said, I just can't give out 18 of these awards. But Malik was certainly up there. I don't think it's an accident that Tannehill won it and that Malik was right there too. And I think it's because they're being pushed, from a job security standpoint. I mean, going into training camp, I didn't even think that they would carry 3 quarterbacks. I thought there might be a chance because Willis showed a little bit of an improvement in OTAs in the spring. But I wasn't sold that they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. I mean, I think they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks right now. I'm sure that when they have those discussions, and Ran Carthon, who's not going to commit to anything because general managers don't commit to things, and as our former GM used to say, don't make a decision until you have to, I do think it's pretty obvious that the Titans are going to carry 3 quarterbacks and that all 3 will be available on game day, although one of them, Willis or Levis, is going to be the emergency quarterback that can only come into a game if both quarterbacks are hurt. But I don't think the Titans have decided who that's going to be. Like when Rand has the giant board in front of him, and he's got his 53 guys right now, I think he's got 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and I think that it's those 3 guys. By the way, did you hear this story, Ian, about what Kyle Shanahan said he was going to do if they had found a way to win the NFC Championship game?
I can't say I did.
So apparently he did a podcast or something, and Shanahan was asked about, if you had just found a way to miraculously win that game.
Who was going to be your quarterback kind of thing?
Right, because Purdy was hurt, and, Josh Johnson got concussed, and he sucked anyways, and Trey Lance was out for the year, and Jimmy was out for the year. He said they would have signed Phillip Rivers and would have spent 2 weeks to get him ready for the game.
Wow.
That they would have called up Phillip Rivers to try to get him to start the game. And I started to think about this. At that point in time, that's probably the best they could have done. Phillip Rivers, 2 years removed from playing football, with 2 weeks to get ready for the Super Bowl.
That would have been wild.
Wild.
It would have been fun to see, but that would have been wild.
Look, Josh Dobbs had 2 weeks, and he started against the Dallas Cowboys, and he was better than Malik. Now, he was at least playing football during the season, or was on a football team during the season. That's what the Niners could have done, I think, is sign somebody off of a practice squad, but that might have been it.
Yeah, call up Tim Tebow.
That's what they would have had to do. They would have had to call up some guy like that, and Rivers might be the best guy in the league that didn't have a job, or like in the case of Andrew Luck, didn't have his rights controlled by the Colts.
Or have retirement papers officially in the league or something like that.
Well, I think Rivers does have his retirement papers officially in the league, but you get unretired. Deion Sanders did that like 5 times.
Okay, well.
But I found that to be fascinating. Texter into the text line says, didn't Josh Allen struggle with touch passes at first too? Yes, let's not compare everybody to Josh Allen. Texter says, Jared, it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself not to jump to conclusions about the second quarterback yet. I don't think anyone who knows football expects a direct answer at this point. Also, I knew you jumped the gun on calling Willis garbage after being rushed into the season last year, being a third-round pick from a small school. He obviously needed development. See, here's the thing with me that I have to give Malik Willis credit for. I thought what happened last year was going to wreck him. That the idea of he wasn't ready. You know, one thing that I will say when it comes to Levis and Willis is that it is not close between Will Levis right now and Malik Willis this time last year. I mean, it's not even the same solar system for those two. But what I do find interesting, or at least fascinating for me, is that I thought that last year was going to wreck Malik, that he had no business being the backup, and that when he had to go out there and play, he embarrassed himself, and the team set him up for failure, and then they went out and benched him. So where would his confidence be after that at the end of the year? And it sounds like everything Vrabel says, it sounds like Malik Willis has done a complete 180 and is actually, as Chris Sanders always says on this program, you have two choices. You get better or you get bitter. And it does sound like Malik Willis decided to get better instead of get bitter. And I have to give him credit for that, because I thought I wrote him, I was like, he's done. Now, I still have my concerns with Willis, and I really do want to see the bullets flying in these preseason games. But Willis has absolutely outperformed whatever expectations I had for him. Texter into the text line says, see, Jared, see what happens. Levis has a good practice, and some Tannehill-hating Titan fans are ready to throw him into the fire. Please tell these Titans fans that are pushing this to stop. I mean, I'm not going to – if they hate Tannehill, they're going to hate Tannehill. The real big thing, I think, as far as, like, what the fans want, not that, you know, what the fans want necessarily is the biggest deal to me, but one thing that I will say about what the fans want is I think there are more Titan fans that hate Will Levis than there are Titan fans that hate Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, for example, in YouTube here, I've been hanging out in the YouTube a little bit more, keeping up with the chat. It says Malik will be number 2. Levis got beat by Vandy.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So they're not there's no pushing. Nobody thinks, anybody that's been out to practice, nobody thinks Ryan Tannehill is not this team's starting quarterback and is not going to be this team's starting quarterback. 615-737-1025. We'll get some more phones. Again, on this, the story of practice today, Will Levis, looked wonderful out there. It's one day. It's one day of practice. But he looked great today. 615-737-1025. Plus, there is one thing. It didn't stand out to me so much today, but it did stand out to me Saturday. And, I mean, I know people are going to get mad at me for sharing how I feel about something. Wouldn't be the first time. But there is something that I saw on Saturday that I do have to share with you, and we'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Hey, the Game Summer Ticket Tour is headed to Streetcar Taps and Garden, located at 4916 Charlotte Pike, Thursday. And the midday show will be joining us as well from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free Sounds, Preds, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix or concert tickets, and also get signed up for the grand prize Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at the Opryland Hotel with access to sound waves. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game Summer Ticket Tour. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/tour. By the way, we had so many people that came out on Friday, and we had so many people that came out and won. I mean, I was really, really impressed with that. So, again, we'll be there 11 to 2 o'clock on Thursday, and that's at Streetcar Taps and Garden on Charlotte Pike, and you've got a really, really, really good chance of winning tickets if you're there. This is not like we're giving away one TV and you've got a 1 in 80 chance. No, I mean, like, a lot of people that came by because they heard it on the show, signed up, sat around, won tickets. I mean, it was great. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, Tennessee! We're Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town. We listen to your feedback on our competitors, so we designed Zen Sports just the way you wished. Set favorites, search and sort bets, and earn real cash rewards, saving you time and money with every bet you make. Find the bets you want, not those distracting bets that seem too good to be true but rarely are. Best of all, withdraw your winnings in under 24 hours. So take control of your bets, because with Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Junie Riddle,
the guy that can come in and give us some good goal-scoring production,
and Nick Keiser,
another guy that I thought was interesting that got a one-year deal.
Each Saturday morning at 9, it's Riddle and the Reporter on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We do the job, go back to the huddle. The defense seems to have a little more chatter on their side. You guys ever get tired of hearing from them? And what's the conversation?
No, I love to talk. I love to talk like that. We just pushing each other. It's a little trash talk. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I enjoy it. I go back and forth with Jeff all day. So.
What about Arden? Has he brought something extra to it as well?
Oh yeah, Arden, like he high energy. Like he got that juice like all day, every day. That's just Arden. So yeah, he for sure got that juice. He talk a little trash here and there. He joke around, but he gonna go out there and compete every day.
There you go. That was Aaron Brewer today talking about the trash talking. And notice how Jim Wyatt's questions, Ian, were all about, hey, it sounds like the defense is talking a little trash out there. What about you guys? And then Aaron Brewer was, yeah, I talk a little trash too.
They feel a little bit more soft-spoken, the O-line than the D-line.
I talk a little trash. I'm going to tell you why I don't think the offensive line's talking trash.
Why is that?
And I know it's been 4 practices, and I wasn't at one of them. I think the offensive line is going to be horrible. Like, I am scared to death that this offensive line is going to be terrible. I mean, it hit me on Saturday's practice, and I have to be fair. Today's practice wasn't that bad, though I did count 2 sacks on Tannehill. But on Saturday, I watched that thing, and when I left the facility, I took out my phone and called my dad, and I said, dude, this line is going to be awful. Like, this offensive line is horrible. And I know that they weren't wearing pads until today, and I know it's practice, and I know the Titans have a good defensive line. Simmons is good. Autry is good. Landry is good. Arden Key apparently is really good. But I'm just telling you, if first team, second team, third team, it doesn't matter. This offensive line, I mean, at least my interpretation of it, and I would be curious what Joe or TD or, people that are out there as well, what they've thought. But I've watched this offensive line, and I know it's early, and they got a gel, and they just put the pads on. I think this offensive line kind of sucks. I'm just telling you. There's so many plays where as soon as Tannehill says a hike, there's about 9 guys in the backfield. It reminds me of a couple years ago. The Titans had signed Kendall Lamb to play right tackle, and they had drafted Dylan Radins. And Ola Adeni just kept shooting by Kendall Lamb every time. And I said to Joe, and they hadn't even put the pads on at that point. I said to Joe, I think Kendall Lamb sucks. And Joe goes, they haven't even put the pads on. What are you talking about? I was like, dude, I'm just telling you, I think he sucks. And the next day, Kendall Lamb was playing both left tackle and right tackle with the second team and the third team, and he was not playing right tackle anymore with the first team. That's how I feel about this offensive line. Now, I am going to give Brunskill a pass because he's a veteran and he's played in the league, and so I am going to, push that to the side for a second. I think he'll probably be okay. But I'm worried about right tackle. I'm worried about center. I'm scared to death after what Arden Key, again, a solid player over the last 2 years, but not Javon Curse. I am scared to death about what he's been doing to Andre Dillard so far in practice. And then I have to say I'm worried about left guard, even though he should be the best one. But we've seen guys taken high in the draft, even an offensive lineman, that have stunk in years past. So I'm just worried about this whole thing, this offensive line. Woof. And today wasn't that bad, but Saturday, I walked out of the facility. I got in my car. Once my phone had hooked on over to Bluetooth, I called my dad, and I was like, dude, the offensive line is awful. Just awful. And I know it's early, and I know they're not wearing pads, but that is how I felt on Saturday watching that line play. I hope I didn't give any of you guys nightmares by telling you that. And I hope that, they turn it around and say, oh, Jared, you're wrong, ha-ha, boo, whatever, whatever you people like to do, go ahead, do it. But, oh, my goodness, am I scared about this offensive line. Texter into the text line, Jonathan says, do I feel a different type of vibe or swag with this year's team compared to past? Not really. I kind of feel like most teams think that they're really good this time of year. Most teams have a lot of optimism. Most teams, if they're picked highly, they have this kind of sense of, hey, we're on a mission this year at training camp. And then other teams that aren't picked highly kind of have the vibe of, hey, we're going to go out there and prove them wrong. We're going to show them. We're just going to work. We're not going to talk. We're just going to work. We're not going to. And that's kind of how I feel like training camp is pretty much every year. It's kind of like why I think Hard Knocks isn't really all that exciting anymore, is it's the same story every year, right? Might be a different team, might be a different coach, different quarterback, but it's kind of the same. Yeah, all day we work really hard on football. Yeah, working out, getting in the cold tub, eating meals in the facility. We're all dedicated this year to football. And then they'll have the story about the undrafted free agent linebacker who was undersized at a Clemson State who's making plays in practice. And then they'll show you the third-round pick that was drafted highly who can't get anything right, gets yelled at by the coaches all the time. It's all the same. I would say as far as vibes and excitements and things like that, I'd say this is kind of all the same too. The biggest difference for me as far as vibe and stuff is concerned, is last year I felt like we had to make a lot of excuses about why guys weren't there or about, oh, this guy will be there or those things. And in this camp, everybody's here, including DeAndre, which is certainly a step in the right direction. Texter in to the text line says, DeAndre Hopkins will have a few nuclear games this year, no doubt in my mind. And what is the most unpredictable quarterback situation in the NFL right now? And are the Titans in the discussion with Levis and Willis? No. And the most unpredictable quarterback situation in the league for me right now is New England, because I do not know if Belichick actually likes Mac Jones. And they do have a backup in Bailey Zappi. And I could see them saying, you know what? We're mad with Mac Jones. We don't think he's any good. And they've screwed Mac Jones over 8 ways to Sunday. And then pulling the plug and switching at some point in the year, and Bill having an unmitigated quarterback controversy disaster on his hands. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe I could. I mean, I guess Tampa's pretty unpredictable, but I think all those guys kind of stink. Texter says, how are the kickers looking? I'm glad you asked. Not good. I wouldn't say that they're terrible. I wouldn't say they're awful, but they miss some kicks. And the other day on Saturday, I was underneath the goalpost, and Caleb Shudak missed one wide to the left. And I, signaled to everybody, no good. And Vrabel stared at me for a solid 20 seconds. Like, Vrabel gave me the stink eye. And I'm standing there underneath the goalpost, and all I could think is, Mike, it's the NFL. He missed it. Get over it. Like, it's not going to, I mean, what? Like, you want to think, he thinks he made it? He knows he missed it. But, boy, Vrabel just gave me the stink eye after that one. By the way, I do want to play this cut as we're talking about the offensive line and Aaron Brewer. So, Joe texted me at the start of the Aaron Brewer press conference and said, ask him about his weight, you coward, which I do care about. We've talked about Aaron Brewer's size many a time, and I think he's smaller this year than he was last year. So I asked him. Aaron, how much do you weigh now?
Same, like about the same. 285, 290. I stay between that range.
Did you try gaining weight in the offseason, or what was that like?
I've been up there before. Like, I done touched 300 before. When I was in college, it was uncomfortable. I done been at 295 before. It's just a comfortable weight for my body and just my frame.
Okay, so take that, Joe. I dare you to ask him, what, do you think I was going to say no? I mean, hey, again, Aaron Brewer probably does need to gain some weight. But they tell me that apparently playing center is going to be easier for him than it is playing guard, so whatever it may be. So Taylor Swift has the Eras Tour that is going on right now. Beyonce has the Renaissance World Tour. And Ryan Tannehill has the Rodney Dangerfield Disrespect Tour. And it has found another stop. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. If you want to weigh in, 1025-1063 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats, all shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. In their car, at home, or on the job, More than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Tennessee Titans were back on the practice field today for their first padded practice of training camp. Head coach Mike Vrabel on what he saw on the first day in pads.
Looked like there were some good things there today. We'll see, take a look at the tape. But, felt like there was good energy throughout the practice on both sides, special teams, drills. So thought we practiced with some speed. I thought there was, we stayed up. We tried to take care of each other, and that's what we'll have to do, come back tomorrow and do it again.
There's some trouble brewing in Colts camp up in Indianapolis. Running back Jonathan Taylor has reportedly asked for a trade after a meeting with owner Jim Irsay. The Colts have said that they have no plans on trading Taylor, and they are considering placing him on the non-football injury list due to a back injury. To make things worse, backup Colts running back Zach Moss broke his arm and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Some injury news in Denver, as it is feared Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick tore his Achilles, and former Vols running back Alvin Kamara is set to visit with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to discuss his offseason arrest and potential discipline. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board. Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. The Mike Sando quarterback tiers are here, thanks to The Athletic. By the way, it took them long enough to come out with these.
I heard you complain. I heard Joe talking about you complaining to him at training camp about this.
When did Joe say that?
On the show.
This morning?
Yeah.
Then I must have complained Saturday. I thought I complained today, but
yeah.
I guess I complained
you
Saturday.
You complained at some point. Yeah.
I did.
You said, where's the Athletics? Where's the rankings? And here
well,
I know.
I mean, I pay for the Athletic, and it would be nice if they at least provide at least somewhat interesting content every now and then. And so this year, they're finally out, although 2 weeks later than they probably should have been. The 2023 quarterback tiers. Now, these are Mike Sando's tiers. He's the one who gets them, but they're not. It's not Mike Sando's opinion. It's not the Athletic's opinion. It is the quarterback tier results, complete with commentary from 50 NFL coaches and executives who were granted anonymity to share their unvarnished evaluations. This year, the 50 league insiders who placed 30 veteran quarterbacks into tiers included 8 general managers, 10 head coaches, 15 coordinators, 10 executives, 4 quarterback coaches, and 3 involved in the coaching/analytics. So, where's Tannehill? That's the first thing that I think when I pick this up, I'm like, all right, where's Tannehill? So let's just go by the rankings. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Do we have a problem with that?
Nope.
Number 2, Joe Burrow, tier 1. Number 3, Josh Allen, tier 1. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers, tier 1. Number 5, Justin Herbert, tier 1. I don't have a problem with any of those. Number 6, Jalen Hurts, tier 2. And I would agree that I think Jalen Hurts do not think Jalen Hurts is a big boy quarterback yet. Number 7, Lamar Jackson. I mean, I get it. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. So a tier 2 appearance for Trevor Lawrence. Number 9, Dak Prescott. And now is where I think we're starting to muddy the waters a little bit. Now is where, hey, if you've got one of those first 4, you've got an elite guy. Herbert checks all the boxes except his team doesn't win, and he's going to have to fix that now that he's getting paid $50 million a year. Hurts has only done it for 1 year. Let's see him do it again. Lamar never wins in the playoffs, but he is, electrifying, and his team does win because of him. And I think we can all agree that Trevor Lawrence has the potential to be an ascending quarterback. But once we get past that, I think a lot of these guys are the same. If you give Dak Prescott a good team, he's going to be good. If you give him a bad team, he's going to be bad. And I don't think that he can go out there and consistently beat the playoff teams because I just don't think he's that good. And I think that is for everybody after Trevor Lawrence. And even Trevor Lawrence I'm not sold on yet, but he's at least got the potential to be able to do it. Number 9, Dak. Number 10, Matthew Stafford. Now remember, the Rams are trying to get rid of Matthew Stafford. And they would have been willing to give him to anybody this offseason if they wanted to pay the $58 million, and nobody did. But he's top 10. I don't know what these executives are thinking, but Stafford's 10. Deshaun Watson, 11. Kirk Cousins is 12. We're still in tier 2. Now we go to tier 3. Well, once we get to Kirk Cousins, don't you think we're kind of in the vicinity of Tannehill? Again, Cousins puts up better stats. Tannehill wins more regular season games, but I think they're kind of similar, that there are a lot worse quarterbacks out there than Kirk Cousins, and there are a lot worse quarterbacks out there than Ryan Tannehill, but those guys have been starters for the last decade because they're at least consistently better than bad. Number 13 is Kyler Murray. Ugh. Kyler Murray. He freaking sucks, and he's hurt. Number 14 is Derek Carr. Now, we've gone over the fact that over the course of their careers, Carr's been in the league for 8 years. Tannehill's been in the league for 10 years. Tannehill has better stats. We've been over the fact that over the last 3 years, Tannehill's had better stats. And we've been over the fact that last year, a year in which Carr had Devontae Adams and Mac Hollins and Darren Waller and the league's leading rusher, Tannehill still had better stats. So we've talked about Tannehill and Carr about 100 times. And all of the data says that Tannehill's better than Carr. But according to these league executives, Carr is 14. Tannehill's not. 15 is Jared Goff. 16 is Russell Wilson. Russell, we'll see. Certainly wasn't better than Tannehill last year. 17 is Tua. Remind me, what did Tua do last year? Number 18 is Jimmy Garoppolo. Number 19 is Daniel Jones. Number 20 is Geno Smith. And again, this isn't some jabroni who just, here's my top 10 list. These are 50 people inside the league. They're not even players. We're talking about quarterback coaches, general managers, head coaches. Geno Smith is 20. Justin Fields is 21. Oh, my God. And finally at 22, Ryan Tannehill checks in. Wow. The Ryan Tannehill disrespect tour continues, and now it's by NFL people. It's one thing when it's Peter King or some media person. I remember one time we took like a CBS list, and I had never heard of the person who wrote this article, and Floyd made me research who that person was and whether or not that person had ever played football or coached football, and he laughed and everything else. These are 50 people who are currently in the game right now. And they're not just telling us that Kyler Murray is better than Tannehill. They're telling us that Kyler Murray is significantly better than Tannehill. 9 spots better than Tannehill. Here's what they said. An executive says, would you rather play with him or against him? To be honest, he's probably someone I'd rather play against. Those 3 interceptions in that Bengals game could have been the beginning of the end for him. 7 voters place Tannehill lower than tier 3. 7 voters say he's not even a tier 3 quarterback. 7 voters place Tannehill lower than tier 3. In some sense, the end could be nearing. No voters place Tannehill below tier 3 heading into 21 or 22. Quote, and this comes from another voter, Tannehill is at a pivotal point where his replacements are already on the roster, and in order for him to be the starter in Tennessee a year from now, the level of play would have to be so high that meeting those expectations seem almost unfair. Ryan is a solid starter who has to be managed to prevent the big errors, but is often the byproduct of success at skill positions and defense. Who's not? Like, you're telling me Dak Prescott is not a product of the players around him and whether or not his defense is good? Kirk Cousins isn't? If your name's not Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes in the NFL, that's exactly what you're a product of. He's often a byproduct of success at skill positions and defense. A Tannehill-led team can't win a Super Bowl. His limited mobility has made him more vulnerable to hits, and his career is turning into the Ryan Fitzpatrick discussion where he's holding on to a position with younger and experimental pieces around him. I think Tannehill's better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, Tannehill's a legitimate starting quarterback, like a legitimate starter, not a, well, you know, he's a backup over here, but they're going to start him because they don't have any. That's Tyrod Taylor. Tannehill's not that. Tannehill's a real starter. But this idea that, you know, a Tannehill-led team can't win a Super Bowl, okay. I don't think a Lamar Jackson team can win a Super Bowl. I don't think a Dak Prescott team can win a Super Bowl. I don't think a Kirk Cousins team can win a Super Bowl. I don't think a Derek Carr team can win a Super Bowl. I don't think a Kyler Murray team can win a Super Bowl. I mean, I don't think a lot of these quarterbacks can win Super Bowls. You know, at least some of the younger guys like Fields or Mac Jones, or like maybe they pop here at some point. But, I mean, I'm sorry. Do you think Dak Prescott can win the Super Bowl? I don't think Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. A GM said, quote, he used to be a really good athlete, but he is older now and he can't move as well as he used to. I think Tannehill moves fine. Maybe I'm wrong. They had nothing around him on offense last year. It felt like he was on the back end. To me, he was always a 3, and now he is past his prime. This is what I would say as far as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever you want to rank it. If Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins are tier 2 quarterbacks, so is Ryan Tannehill. Like, that's how I view it. Deshaun Watson is trading off of a reputation, but he hasn't played at a real level in 3 years. And in those 3 years, Ryan Tannehill 3 years ago was right there with him. So why do we give Deshaun this leeway that we don't give Tannehill? And this isn't a media thing because these GMs are supposed to all look at the tape the same. Derek Carr, I don't know on what planet Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Tannehill. I don't know by what metric Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Tannehill. But to these league people, and we're talking about GMs and head coaches and offensive coordinators, they don't just think Carr's a better quarterback than Tannehill. They think Carr is a significantly better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. It's almost like I wonder, if I owned an NFL team, I think I would call Mike Sando, and I would be like, Mike, you don't have to tell me if any of my people are involved. But if they are, I might have to fire them off of this. Because how can these people in the league that watch the tape, I mean, it's their job. Like, it's Rand Carthon's job to know every player in the league. It's his job to watch tape on every player in the NFL. Whether or not that's fair, that's his job. And so if he watches the tape on every player, I don't know how he can come to the conclusion that Derek Carr is better than Tannehill. And yet, the guys whose jobs it is to do this have Derek Carr ahead of Tannehill. They have Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G ahead of Tannehill, Geno Smith ahead of Tannehill, Russell Wilson ahead of Tannehill. Kyler Murray at 13 is disgusting, by the way. Kyler Murray sucks. So the Ryan Tannehill disrespect tour continues. I expected it to be something when it came to the QB tiers. I'm not sure I expected it to be this bad. I mean, it's one thing for ESPN to not like the Titans. It's one thing for ESPN to not like Tannehill. But for the people in the league who make the decisions to say it's not even close between him and Kirk Cousins. It's not even close between him and Derek Carr is just a disgrace because it's just not true. And I am not the biggest Tannehill supporter in the world, and you know that. But this is just not true. This just does not reflect reality at all. I don't get it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I see that a lot of you want to react to this, which we will. But somebody who does this for a living has got to explain to me how they came up with some of these, how these people who are paid to do this came up with some of these opinions. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Ryan Tannehill.
To the end zone, touchdown.
Derrick Henry.
76-yard touchdown.
Kevin Byard.
And as he throws, and it's intercepted.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, wow, what a catch.
The Titans are ready for another season as training camp is underway.
Go to your position. Let's go.
Who will win the camp battles? How are the new additions fitting in? Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we were awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new-to-you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Hey, it's Teron Davenport, and we're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now, when you use the promo code The Game, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code The Game. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code The Game, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the moment you got here, you were complimentary of Ryan Tannehill. Even when
8 million things were being reported, all different places. You never swayed. You're like, Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback. Why were you so resolute in all of that from the time that you got here until this moment in time that Ryan Tannehill was not only a valuable member of this team, but a pretty darn good quarterback?
You know, it goes back to what I said previously about, not doing business in public. There was a lot of things that were reported about his deal, and none of it came from anyone inside this building. None of the concerns about the cap number and all of that, like that was more outside than inside, right? And so, again, Ryan's won a lot of football games, in this league, and Ryan has proven that he is an NFL starting quarterback. And, again, I lean on my experiences. Come from San Fran last year, we don't know where our season ends up if we don't have, we started with Trey Lance, he gets hurt, moved to Jimmy Garoppolo, he gets hurt, and then you end up with, with Brock. And, when you have a starting caliber NFL quarterback, you don't just throw him out of the window, And so, again, Ryan has proven countless times that he wins games in this league, and that's valuable for us.
There you go. That was Rand Carthon talking about Ryan Tannehill. I do love that you never wavered on Ryan Tannehill, which is not true. But as I said Friday, I believe Rand Carthon, now that he's watched all the tape, now that he's been here, now that he's been around Tannehill, I think he's converting to the Church of Tannehill, which does happen. And I think it happened to the last general manager, and I think it's happened to the current head coach, where they tell themselves, hey, Tannehill is not bad, which I believe. Tannehill is not bad. But I do think there's a ceiling there with Tannehill. Maybe the difference is I think there's a ceiling there with all of these guys whose names aren't Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. But I was just reading through, again, The Athletic, the quarterback tiers as decided by 50 league general managers, coaches, coordinators, passing game analysts, whatever. All of these guys, and they've got Tannehill at 22 behind Russell Wilson and Geno Smith and Daniel Jones and just some of these real crap bums in the NFL. So I was just reading as to what some of these other executives had to say, because what I can't understand, what I understand, some Stephen A. Smith. How many quarters of Titans football does Stephen A. Smith watch on a yearly basis? 3? Maybe? So I understand Stephen A. Smith, not liking Tannehill, or Skip Bayless not liking Tannehill. But a general manager in the NFL should know Tannehill as well as he knows his own players. They don't, but they should. And they think Tannehill's a guy on the decline who, well, you have to have a good team around him in order to win. And what? But isn't that the case for everybody whose name isn't Joe Burrow? So I kind of wondered what these other executives were saying about these other quarterbacks that they just have so much higher than Tannehill. So here's Cousins, for instance, who's in tier 2. This is according to a league executive. Quote, people have him down in tier 3, and I'm like, no. But the guy is a riddle. He plays almost flawlessly in the second half in the biggest comeback in the history of the league against Indianapolis, which almost no one can do. And then 1 month later in the playoffs, he's got 4th and 8 on the last play of the game, and he's hitting the check down 5 yards short of the sticks with the defender all over the receiver. This is an offensive coordinator. He is probably the guy I was torn the most between tier 2 and tier 3. He will probably never win a Super Bowl, but he is just a damn good player who more times than not, they are at least even, if not a little ahead of who they are playing from a quarterback standpoint. A defensive coordinator said he is smart. He has got leadership. He's got command of the offense. I'm not sure he can carry the team even sometimes. There is something missing there. But if there was a 2.5 here, I would give him that. Can't you say all those things about Tannehill? But they don't. I think there's just some general consensus that Tannehill sucks. I don't get the Kyler Murray thing. Then when it goes to Derek Carr, this is a defensive play caller. Derek is in the same category as Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff, where I think people have a much worse opinion of him than the coaches do. Derek is a special passer, quick release, the accuracy. He's got more mobility than you think. What holds him back is his courage in the pocket, but he can throw it, and he can be a really good decision maker, super sharp at the line of scrimmage, can see it. I am higher on him than most. Ian, do you buy that on Derek Carr at all?
Not really.
No.
No.
It's like he's good at everything. He's what you want. No, he's not. Carr rose into Tier 2 last year and then settled back into Tier 3 for the fourth time. This is an executive. Derek can still make some big-time plays, but what you get with him too frequent is a key big error. That keeps him out of Tier 2. He is a roller coaster. Now, we'll say this about Carr. I believe that Derek Carr can make every throw that an NFL quarterback would be asked to make. Every single throw. I don't think you can say that for Tannehill. The problem is that Carr consistently doesn't make them. Just because he can make those throws doesn't mean that he does make those throws. And I also think he does a bunch of dumb stuff out there with the ball. And so it's almost like they just want to kind of right over their head. I do wonder, let's see what they say about Russell Wilson, because Russell sucked last year. This is an offensive coordinator. I think he was out of shape. I think he was reading his own press clippings last year. I think they bent over backwards for him in the trade, and he had them by the short hairs. But I think Sean Payton is going to get the most out of him. It would not surprise me if he plays well this year. A personnel director. Some injury stuff probably was real last year, but he has lost that athleticism and speed to make the plays that he used to make as far as extending the down for receivers to make plays down the field. He is still a capable passer, still a guy with a big arm, but I think he needs more things around him. If Russ is not stubborn, if he has a willingness to listen and he respects Sean Payton as much as I think he probably does, there will be more stability and he won't do things that maybe are out of his declining skill set right now. Some guys, they are only willing to listen to someone they truly respect. Sean Payton's system does allow for a lot of gimmies. So it sounds like most people look at Russell Wilson and they're like, yeah, he's really not all that good anymore, but maybe Sean Payton can help him. And that's ahead of Tannehill. Jimmy. Let's go to Jimmy. Tannehill's 22. Jimmy G is 18. Jimmy G's own team has been trying to get rid of him for 3 years. Well, I guess trying to for 2, and then they did get rid of him. Jimmy G. He's been with teams that can run it, and they do have a good back in Josh Jacobs. And they will probably hand it off a fair amount to take some pressure off, which could be good for Jimmy, an offensive coach said. He's a 3, but a good 3. Plays like a 2 a decent amount of the time. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Jimmy is obviously a system guy, probably on the lower end of 2s. A defensive coordinator said, I'm sure a lot of people will have him as a 3. He can make throws on the intermediate and short level consistently well. No, he can't. I mean, I don't know if these guys watch as much tape as they say they watch. Like, that's like the one conclusion that I feel like I'm coming to with this, is that maybe these general managers and coaches that just sit back and say, oh, I watch so much tape. I'm in the office at 2 in the morning, and I leave at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm watching all the tape, and I know everything, and maybe that's why. Maybe they just lie about it. Like, maybe they're all having affairs on their wives, or they're all, doing something, so they lie and say they're watching tape, but they're not. That's the only thing I can come up with when you're sitting there and saying a defensive coach is telling me, I'd rather play against Tannehill than play with Tannehill, and is saying, I'm worried about Derek Carr because he can do everything a quarterback can do. And maybe this is why the Titans win games and punch above their weight all the time with Vrabel as the coach. Not because Vrabel's overly smart, but because everybody else is stupid. Like, maybe that's – I don't know. I mean, I don't. I can't believe people think that about Tannehill. I can't believe that people looked at Tannehill's season last year and thought it was a bad season. That's the frustrating part for me. All right, I promised phones, so we will go to them. 615-737-1025. As I am disappointed in this league. I mean, just the disrespect for Tannehill just continues. We'll get to your phone. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
All the big plays.
Rebound, fly out in front, and Saros covers it up.
All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need more? The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This week at the Electronic Express Summer Clearance Sales Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all major appliances in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, purchase now, pay later with up to 5-year special financing. Shop the Summer Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats. All shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable. But for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Today's world is filled with many things that can push any of us to our limit. An upcoming move should not add to that list. When you choose Black Tie Moving, you are going to get a highly awarded Inc. 500 company. From the free estimate by a local professional moving consultant to the red carpet treatment you receive on the day of your move, their trained and dedicated team is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. Call 844-920-2966. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life.
Check, check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
For now, Tannehill good enough to be right in the dead center of all starting quarterbacks at 16. Why do you have him there?
He's still really good. I mean, the one, you look at the Tennessee Titans, the thing I'd say right off the bat is Ryan Tannehill ain't the problem with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you get down to the list of the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill doesn't come up to a long, long time down that list. He's one of the most consistent passers in the NFL. Rarely do I come away coming from watching a game on film of the Tennessee Titans going, oh, man, Tannehill and a lot of bad decisions. Oh, Tannehill missed a lot of wide open receivers and just couldn't throw the ball accurate. No way. That's where he's special in that department. He maximizes what they do on the offense. It's not sexy, Mike. He doesn't have a sexy personality, so he's kind of always that guy. He's not a superstar either. So he's the kind of guy sometimes that, everybody looks for, ooh, I think we can do better. And I want to be like, well, all right, well, be careful with that, because all I know is, again, this is where I'm here to do this. Hey, the support system around him last year was not good. I mean, come on.
There you go. That was Chris Sims, at least talking some common sense. But the quarterback tiers, the league executives, say Ryan Tannehill is 22nd, which means Russell Wilson, Tua, Jimmy G, Geno Smith, and Justin Fields, who's 21st, are all ahead of Tannehill. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. By the way, that Justin Fields nugget right there, that's going to be your key to win Sounds tickets later in the show. So hopefully you were listening to that right there and right now, and then you'll be listening down the road. But I just can't with this list. I promised phones. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A texter into the text line says, I'm not even sure I'd put Cousins and Stafford for sure over Tannehill. How many guys would you say you would for sure put over Tannehill? And Ian, here's what I want to do. I think we can all agree that Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers, Herbert, Hurts, Lamar, Trevor, Dak Prescott probably all belong ahead of Tannehill, even though I do have my concerns with Dak Prescott.
That's the top 9, huh?
Yep. Okay. For this season, right now, who would you rather have, Stafford or Tannehill?
Am I the Titans? Or
you're
you know, like, because for the Titans,
for any team.
For any team. I mean, Tannehill has less injury concerns at this point, even though he's coming off the ankle injury, but his arm is in maybe better condition. I'll lean slightly Stafford.
I'm going to go with Tannehill because I think that Stafford's done. Like, I think he's toast.
He might be.
I think he just physically, he's done. Deshaun Watson or Tannehill?
I'll go slightly Watson.
See, I won't. Watson sucked last year. Nobody ever talks about that. He didn't play the year before that. He sucked last year. Like, at some point, doesn't that have to count for something?
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, I think Tannehill is more of a sure thing than Watson. Watson's got too much control in that organization. He's got too much leverage with that team. And yes, he's younger than Tannehill. Yes, he's more athletic than Tannehill. Yes, at his peak, he was better than Tannehill. But here's a stat in the article. Only Mayfield and Joe Flacco ranked lower than Watson last season in EPA. There you go, Joe. EPA per pass play among 39 quarterbacks with at least 150 pass attempts. And nobody takes that into account, that he was terrible. Cousins is 12. I would take Cousins over Tannehill slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Murray or Tannehill?
Well, especially this year, you have to go Tannehill because Murray's hurt.
I mean, take out the ACL, Murray or Tannehill.
If you take out the ACL for the season, if I needed a player and needed to win, I don't know. That's pretty close. I might lean Tannehill.
I don't even think it's close. I think it's Tannehill. Murray's never won anything in this league. Murray's a bum, guys. Like, I want you to realize Kyler Murray is a player that you lose with. That's why every team he's been on has lost. Like, that's why they stink, because of him. That's why they can't get further, because he wants to play video games. Carr or Tannehill?
Tannehill.
I don't even think it's close. The numbers all say Tannehill. I would take Goff, who's 15. I would take Goff over Tannehill, but I think they're very similar. Goff's just younger in his prime.
Fair.
Russell or Tannehill?
Russell's also pretty close to done. He's been taking a lot of sacks. His arm is not what it used to be. He's also kind of in his own head. I still might lean Russell.
So I would go with Tannehill because I think Russell, done.
He might be done too.
Tua or Tannehill?
I'd probably take Tannehill.
I would too.
Tua, he could be
Give Tannehill
seriously
Jalen
hurt.
Waddle and Tyreek Hill and see what happens.
I don't like Tannehill in that system, in Tua's system.
It's the same system as here.
It's a little bit different.
Here's Shanahan.
Yeah. I don't know. Just the way they throw it as many times. He was throwing the ball 50-something times a game, Tua. They don't run the ball at all in Miami, and that's not good for Tannehill. But in general, I'd probably take Tannehill.
I bet if they had the receivers, they'd throw it a lot more here. Jimmy G and Tannehill, I don't think is close. No. Daniel Jones and Tannehill.
Close one. I think I would lean Daniel Jones.
For this year, I would take Tannehill. Overall, I would take Jones because he's younger. I think Jones is a lot like Tannehill, but right now,
they do seem very
to win
similar.
a game, I'd rather take Tannehill.
That might
Plus,
be fair.
think about who his offensive coach was last year. Brian Dable, genius. Who was Tannehill's offensive coach? Todd Downing, bozo. Geno Smith and Tannehill, I don't even think it's close. Geno Smith hasn't been a starter for like 6 years in the NFL. Has one good season, and now he's ahead of Tannehill? I mean, I don't even know if these guys watch film. Like, if I was an owner, I would want to know who voted in this poll. Now, they won't tell you who voted in this poll, but if I was an owner, I'd want to know, because if my general manager voted in this poll and my general manager was voting Jimmy G ahead of Tannehill, that means that my owner doesn't watch as much tape as the local radio host in Nashville does, and I'm firing him. Because, I mean, that's just absurd. Texture says, Deshaun Watson didn't forget how to play quarterback. Last year was an impossible situation to succeed, and he will be a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback by the end of the year. Last year was an impossible situation to succeed. How? Because he missed the first 12 games? I mean, think about the situation Deshaun Watson has. Deshaun Watson has a Pro Bowl caliber running back, just like Tannehill. Deshaun Watson has a legitimate number 1 tight end in David Njoku. Tannehill had Austin Hooper, who, by the way, wasn't good enough for Cleveland because he got cut. Deshaun Watson had Amari Cooper at wide receiver and has a starting right tackle, Jack Conklin, who you all would kill for, and a legitimate starting left tackle. And I'm supposed to believe that it was Watson who was in the impossible situation and not Tannehill who was in the impossible situation with that terrible line last year with no receivers. I mean, the most consistent pass catcher that he had last year was Robert Woods and the play caller. Texter says they're an Arizona Cardinals fan and they would take Tannehill over Murray. Man, I'll tell you, people knock on Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's really good. I mean,
are you surprised he's in tier 1?
I mean, for me, I would say he's like just my own quarterback rankings. For me, it's Burrow, Mahomes, and I know, like, I guess in this voting, every voter voted Mahomes a tier 1 quarterback, which if I had a vote, I would vote for him as a tier 1 quarterback. And one voter voted for Joe Burrow as a tier 2 quarterback, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But I would have voted them both tier 1. To me, I think the top 4 quarterbacks in the league are Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Rodgers. And I could move around Rodgers and Allen. I would put Tom Brady in that first tier if he were still playing. And so he would be 6 or 5, even though he's not active. And Herbert would be the 6th guy. So with Brady out, Herbert's 5. Is that tier 1 or tier 2? I could argue either way. He's got the production of tier 1. He's got the winning of tier 2. I would probably say Herbert's, the top of tier 2. But I certainly believe in his upside and ability to win a championship and all those other things. I certainly believe in that a lot more than I believe in, say, Lamar Jackson's or even Trevor Lawrence's. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in here on the program. And Texture says, I think Tannehill's disrespect is solely based on the playoff performances. Then why is Justin Herbert knocked more? Then why is Lamar Jackson not knocked more? Then why is Dak Prescott not knocked more? I mean, Dak Prescott called a quarterback sneak with 13 seconds left last year. Well, that's so stupid. With no timeouts. And yet we never talk about that game when it comes to Dak. Jimmy G's been awful in the playoffs. 615-737-1025. All right. We'll get back into your phones on this, but there was something today at practice. There were 2 things at practice that had an effect on me. And one of them, I'm starting to really get on the hype train about. We'll get to that next here on Stillman and Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I've been using Hiller for forever at my home. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. Like when you purchase select new HVAC systems, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Penga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. Stay chillin' all summer long. Call Hiller today. And Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee. And I know this because, again, I've been using Hiller at my home for 5+ years. Hiller offers convenient, quick online booking. Select the appointment time that works for you, and you'll get an instant confirmation. For me, I do it right on my phone. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's great. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
The Vanderbilt Commodores are ready for year 3 under head coach Clark Lee.
As we stand now in front of a clean sheet. Our goal is postseason play.
And we are your home for all of the action.
Touchdown, Vandy. The Doors on the board. Vandy, 24-21, your final.
Vanderbilt football lives on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You know why insurance companies use all those cute and funny characters? To distract you from realizing you're only getting one option. If you want to compare prices, you're forced to visit multiple websites just to get one quote at a time. But not with Zander Insurance, because they work for you. Zander is a broker that shops dozens of top companies to find the best competitive rates for the coverage you need, and they keep reviewing your policy every year to make sure you're getting the best value. They're always available to answer questions, handle problems, and make sure that when it comes to insurance, your life is simple and hassle-free. You even have direct access to their senior management team. If your current company or agent doesn't do this much for you, let Zander Insurance help. Compare rates online at Zander.com or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch. When Zander works for you, you're going to see the difference. Again, that's 800-356-1780, or you can visit Zander.com with no characters needed.
O'Reilly. Increase your vehicle's performance and gas mileage with Lucas Fuel Treatment at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply add it to your tank at your next fill-up to eliminate carbon and varnish deposits. Right now, get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Treatment for $10. See store for details. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. One is a legendary NFL wide receiver.
I gotta be prepared. I have to be ready.
One is a legendary Nashville voice.
You don't have to rely on carrying the ball 250 to 300 times.
And the other has been a legendary trash talker on the playground since the 4th grade.
Nobody is a Pro Bowler on day 1 of rookie minicamp.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now, how was that exit meeting for you? Because, and I want to go back toward the end of the season, because it sets up a template of what you need to do as a player going into the offseason. So how was that with
Coach Rob?
With Coach Rob, and then also with Coach Vrabel as well?
They just told me to make sure when I leave here, knowing what I'm going to do. I'm not going on vacation. It's a business, and I'm going to go take care of business, and then I can have fun later. And Rob's main thing was, just go be yourself away from here. Because when you come back here, you're still going to be that same person. And, that's what I did. After the exit meeting, I left, went to Arkansas for about a week or two, and then me and my wife, we came back, and, we stayed here. And I, bust my ass. It was here every day with Braves and Rob. And so, they seen my whole process through the offseason until now.
Treylon Burks, that was on the midday show on Friday. I thought it was an excellent interview out of practice. And I listened to that interview, and I was like, Treylon Burks gets it. Then I continue to watch Treylon Burks in practice. He looks like a legitimate starting receiver in the NFL, like no questions asked. And he's bigger, he's stronger, and he doesn't seem to have any issues at all when it comes to, like where he lands and where he runs. And again, knock on wood, but I don't see a lot of issues there with Treylon Burks. I feel very comfortable about Treylon Burks. He's ready for New Orleans. But today there were two separate incidents with Treylon Burks. One was a red zone play. They did a lot of red zone stuff today. One was towards the corner of the end zone, and he maybe slipped for a second, or his timing was off, and he didn't come out of his cut when he needed to. By the time he started to turn around, the ball was already on its way, and he was very upset with himself after the incompletion from Tannehill. Then, at the end, he had a one-handed grab for a touchdown at the very end. Very impressive. In fact, I didn't see all of it because where I was standing, it was one of those where I just saw his hand just grab the football, and he came down, and I thought to myself, did he just catch that? And everyone's like, yeah, he caught it. And they jumped up and celebrated the one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. So he had a bad play there where he was very unhappy with himself, and a good play there where he had a one-handed catch. So I asked him this question, which was, which one matters more in practice to him? Here's what he said. So when you think about today's practice, what do you think more about? The one where you kind of slipped over here and missed the timing with Tannehill, or the one over there where you made the one-handed grab?
I would say, honestly, the ones that, I made mistakes, I didn't take care of my details on. I'm not really worried about it. One-handed catch, scores, touchdowns, that's great, but some of those details might come in a certain situation of the game, and if I don't do them, then, we could possibly lose the game. So those are the things that I really focus on.
Oh, my God, I loved hearing it. Oh, it's, hey, man, we got to fix the mistakes. I mean, I could sit here, we can brag about a one-handed catch all we want, but those mistakes, we do that at New Orleans or do that week 2 at home against the Chargers. Again, all these games feel kind of like toss-ups. Do want to make one of those mistakes, and we lose. And I just love it. I just love Treylon Burks' attitude. And I've loved everything that has come out about his attitude this offseason. The exit meeting, hey, come back to work, ready to go. He comes back to work. I went to Arkansas for a couple of weeks. I came back, and I haven't left since. Oh, I love that. There was another one where Derrick asked about working out at the facility. And Treylon Burks talked about how last year he had to visit all the different teams. And so because he was visiting all the teams, it was fly here, fly there, fly here, stay there. And he said, hey, I can run on the treadmill, but I really couldn't stay in shape the way a football player needs to. Then I come out here and I can't even make it through rookie minicamp. Now, because I've been working out here the whole time, crushes the conditioning test, and I'm chilling. He said, I'm chilling when everybody else is dying. And it's like, yes. And then he's saying, hey, I'm more worried in practice about fixing the mistakes than I am about celebrating the accomplishments. Yes. Even the story about Treylon Burks flying on that tiny little Cessna plane to make it in time for OTAs because American Airlines, go figure, American Airlines canceled his flight coming back from Arkansas for the start of OTAs, and so he flies this tiny little propeller plane because he couldn't drive from Arkansas here. It's the last, gasp he's got. If I were Vrabel or Ran Carthon and he had called me and said, I want to fly that tiny little plane in order to make it for the start of OTAs, I would have said, no, you just wait. It's the first day. You'll be fine. But we appreciate the hustle. Instead, he just hustles, and he's there. And I heard that, and I'm like, yes. And so everything that comes out when it comes to Treylon Burks, I get excited about. I know the talent exists with Treylon Burks because we saw it last year. We saw it on the first day of training camp. We saw it in the Giants game. We saw it in the Bengals game. We saw it in the Packers game. We saw it even in that one catch he had in the Eagles game before he got concussed. We know Treylon Burks is good. We know he's got high-end talent. But now it's like everything that he needed to work on, he's focused on working on. He's just, I am becoming a full-on Treylon Burks Bobo, where it's like that guy, he can say no wrong or do no wrong for me. And I think it's because he's been saying literally all the right stuff, everything that I want to hear. You know, it was funny when he was talking with the media today before I asked him that question about, you know, if you had to pick between the miscommunication or mistiming with Tannehill or the one-handed catch, which one will you focus more on? Before I asked him that, there were a lot of questions that were asked, you know, just the generic of, you know, Treylon, how do you feel about the route tree and the new offense, and how do you feel? And he was just, you know, all kind of very polite, but at the same time, just like, you know, I feel good about it. You know, I don't. It was like talking about that doesn't do, like, it doesn't do it for him, because he's just trying to constantly do the next thing to get ready for the season. And he's like a different man this year. And I'm convinced Treylon Burks is going to have a good year. And when I read all these rankings and where they put Tannehill and all this other kind of, you know, all this other stuff, I think to myself, when I see it, I'm like, he's going to be a big reason why. A.J. Brown being traded was a big reason why Tannehill had his struggles last year, even though I don't think Tannehill really struggled that much. Like, I go back to those games, and outside of the Bills, I don't think of a game where I'm like, man, if Tannehill just could have completed a pass, they could have won that game. So, I mean, I don't want to say he struggled last year, but the lack of a bona fide receiver was a big problem when he's throwing to Nick Westbrook-Akina in these big spots. And now that I have a pretty strong feeling that it's going to be Burks, I think Tannehill's game is going to pop right back up there, like the stats and everything else. Not because Burks is going to be as good as Brown or Hopkins is going to be better than Corey Davis or anything like that, but just because Burks, I think, is consistently going to be good this year because he's doing and saying all of the right things. His head is screwed on correctly and is pointed in the right direction. And I already know that Treylon Burks has the talent. And I know it because we all saw it last year. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in again. 615-737-1025. Go ahead and put me in the Treylon Burks Bobo Club because I'm in. I think Burks is going to have a better season than DeAndre Hopkins. And I went on Sirius yesterday, and I said, I've been to practice now 2 times, and now it's been 3. And if you're one of those teams that didn't want to get in the DeAndre sweepstakes or only wanted to pay $3 million for DeAndre, you may regret that. Because DeAndre looks a lot like DeAndre. And DeAndre Hopkins is a good player. I still think Burks is going to be the number 1 receiver on this team. And every day I'm more impressed with him. And everything he says, I'm more impressed. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Again, that's 615-737-1025. The number 1 story of practice today. The most polarizing person on the Titans. And what they did out there on the field. And there's one thing that I do know for sure when it comes to Will Levis and the quarterback battle for the backup spot. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company here on the program twice daily. Gosh, I love Twice Daily. I go there literally all the time. Maybe even more than twice daily. Download the Twice Daily app today and join their loyalty program to unlock special discounts, savings, and so much more. It pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You'll earn points, and you'll save money with every visit. I love when they ask me if I'm a rewards member. Like, duh. I'm here every day. You see me all the time. Of course I'm a rewards member. Get what you crave at Twice Daily. Made-to-order sandwiches, bakery, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fresh items made to go. And, of course, they got their coffees and the coffee bar and the cappuccino and the hot chocolate machine. And then they got the cold drinks like the ices. And they've got the beer cave where you can go crack open a cold one. If you're looking for convenience, Twice Daily has you covered. Buy any hot dog piled high with your choice of toppings, a bag of Frito-Lay chips, and your choice of a 20-ounce Coke or Pepsi for only $5 with their app. Offer ends August 28th. Twice daily. Fresh all day.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. Live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
What's up? It's Chase McCabe, and I have been telling you about PhD Weight Loss for several weeks now. The program created by Dr. Ashley Lucas, the best-selling author. Listen, overall, I'm down about 25 pounds, and this is a great program because losing weight is not easy. That's why you have one-on-one coaching sessions. I talk to Rachel each week. She's great. She works me through my program, gives me what I need. We adjust my diet as we go. And that is how I'm getting the results, and you can too. With that weekly one-on-one coaching, you get the customized meal plans. And here's the cool part about this. If you choose to use their food, 85% of the food is provided for you at no extra charge. And the food is great. I love the cereals, the protein bars, the shakes, but they can also teach you how to use your own food as well. And remember, their new offer guarantee, if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight, by the time your program is over, PhD will continue to coach you until you do. That is their offer guarantee. MyPhDWeightLoss.com is the website. Check it out, MyPhDWeightLoss.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Tennessee Titans were back on the practice field today for their first padded practice of training camp. Newly signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is settling in with his new team and has had some nice catches in practice. Hopkins on how much he prides himself on coming down with the ball.
I've been doing that for, since I've been at Clemson. So obviously now you guys get to see it firsthand. But it's what I've been doing since I've been playing football. And, obviously Ryan trusts me to just put the ball up in the air and for me to come down with it, and hopefully we can keep doing that to build that rapport.
There's some trouble brewing in Colts camp up in Indianapolis. Running back Jonathan Taylor has reportedly asked for a trade after a meeting with owner Jim Irsay. The Colts have said that they have no plans on trading Taylor, and they are considering placing him on the non-football injury list due to a back injury. To make things worse, backup Colts running back Zach Moss broke his arm and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Former Vols running back Alvin Kamara is set to meet with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to discuss his offseason arrest and potential discipline. And Cowboys running back Ronald Jones has been suspended for the first 2 games of the season for violating the league's PED policy. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's going to coach
Shot by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
a Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Titans in pads today, first practice in pads. And all in all, it was a lot of red zone work, some good for the offense, some good for the defense. Sean Murphy-Bunting had an interception today of Ryan Tannehill for a ball that was significantly behind DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins was behind the ball, easy interception. I thought it maybe was a miscommunication, but Vrabel kind of hinted that it might have been Tannehill's fault, so that wasn't great. But all in all, I thought Tannehill was good. I thought Willis was solid. Again, Tannehill was 5 of 9. He did get sacked twice, which I didn't like. He did throw the one interception. Willis was 6 of 9, had 2 rushing red zone touchdowns where he made the read, decided to keep it, and scored. I liked the decision-making on both of those. And then the story of practice today. Will Levis, 6 of 7, 4 touchdowns in the red zone, and was zipping the ball in there today. He was the story of practice. The fact that almost every throw Will Levis made looked like it was comfortable, it looked confident, it had velocity on it, it felt effortless. Everything that was a positive about him when he came out, what he could be, that's what Will Levis was today at training camp. Now, it's only one day. And again, he's wearing a red jersey, which means they can't hit him. When the bullets are live in these preseason games, when there are not third stringers out there, when he's up there against a first team or a second team defense, is it going to be the same? I don't know. Is it going to be the same tomorrow at practice? I don't know. Did Levis complete a pass in which he did not do a decent job of layering the football, putting touch underneath it earlier today to Reggie Robertson? Yes, which he's got to work on. But today he was the story of practice. And Mike Vrabel, even though Vrabel probably didn't even need to say it, Vrabel did confirm that he and Malik Willis are legitimately competing with one another, not so much against, but more so with. They're competing with each other for the backup job.
You preach compete on a daily basis. How much have you enjoyed so far watching the two young quarterbacks compete on the field?
I think it's been great. I think it's been great. I think that they, all push each other. And again, you see them getting excited for each other, and you're allowed to do that and still compete and still want to try to win the competition. So I think they both have done some really good things. There's some plays that both of them would like to have back. Again, one day isn't going to make or break anything, but hopefully we can come back tomorrow without a script and put the ball down and see how they function and operate and move through the different situations that we give them tomorrow and see how they lead their unit, whether it's the second group or the third group, and they'll both have opportunities with each of those different groups. So I like where both of them are at. I guess it's nice to have two young guys here that you can develop and work with.
Okay. Vrabel's telling you it's a battle for the backup quarterback spot between Levis and Willis. Today, Levis got the upper hand. Now, I don't know how much this matters, but the one thing that I will say for sure, this to me is obvious. Will Levis is significantly further ahead of where Malik Willis was this time last year. I don't know how much that matters. I know it's true, but I don't know exactly how much that matters. Ian, do you know the age difference between Will Levis and Malik Willis?
I think it's maybe a year, not even. It's very close.
It is 1 month and 2 days. So they are practically the same age. They're both 24 years old. Will Levis and Malik Willis. So does it matter that this time last year when Willis was a rookie, he was miles behind Levis? And so where Levis is starting off right now is really where Willis is right now, which is Willis with a year in the league under his belt. Does that mean that we can expect that Levis will have a big jump up when he goes into year two? Or do we look at it like, hey, you're 24 years old now, you're 24 years old now, here's how good you are, here's how good you are. And I don't know what to make of that. And part of that's because I don't know the two kids. The thing with Malik Willis was he played in that Fakakta offense at Liberty, and nobody's ever come out of the Hugh Freeze offense and made it into the NFL. So he comes out of that, kooky offense out there at Liberty. Well, that learning curve is going to be significantly larger than that of the guy who's running a pro-style offense with a former NFL offensive coordinator that Will Levis had at Kentucky. So then does that really negate it? Or is it, hey, Willis came in and he wasn't very good and he's worked really, really hard and he's made a huge leap from year one to year two. And so because of that, that gives us hope. But at the same time, Levis is a rookie and he's right there with Willis. And next year when Willis comes back for 3, there won't be as big of a jump. But there will be that jump for Levis because he's going from year one to year two. And does it matter that Levis has 1 extra year on the contract? They both have 4-year contracts as players that were drafted outside of the first round, which means that Willis's deal is up, I believe, after the 2025 season. And Levis's deal is up after the 2026 season. So again, if let's just say they're completely neck and neck, Do we side with Levis on this because, well, you'll have him for an extra year as opposed to Willis? And I'm asking all of these questions because I don't know. I know right now it's a legitimate competition between the two. And that on some days and some plays and some throws, Malik Willis looks better than Will Levis. And on other days and other plays and other throws, Will Levis, like he did today, looks better than Malik Willis. And even in that cut right there that Vrabel talked about the competition between the two, he said we're going to see some jumping around where Levis is going to be with the 2s and Willis is going to be with the 3s. And even today, when they were doing 11 on 11 in the red zone, Willis was with the 2s and he hopped out for a play and Levis went in with the 2s. And then on the next series, when they were with the 3s, Levis was running the offense, and then Levis popped out for a play, and Willis went in there. And then, on top of it, when we talk about the growth and where Levis is right now compared to Willis last year, which is not even on the same planet, does that tell us what their ceilings can be? That Willis improved so much from year 1 to year 2, but his ceiling is only that maybe of a backup or a gimmick-type quarterback or a low-end starter. But because this is the first year for Levis, his upside could be that of Matthew Stafford or Justin Herbert or these big, strong-armed quarterbacks with a little mobility, which is what Levis has. And again, I don't know the answer to this. I do remember this time last year when we talked about Malik Willis' struggles, I kept saying, well, I'm not a quarterback guru. I've never been an offensive coordinator in the league or a quarterback coach. So I can't watch Malik, who was stinking it up at training camp last year. I can't watch Malik and say, okay, well, that's where he is right now, but he will be here. And that in the learning, the learning cycle, he is in the right spot. I didn't know those things. I didn't feel that way. I certainly didn't think they should put him in a game. And I did tell you, I was like, he stinks right now. If he had to play in a game, this was last year. And I told you guys, if he has to play in an NFL game, he stinks right now. And that would be bad, and they shouldn't do it, and he should not play in that. I do believe that Will Levis could be a backup quarterback in the NFL right now. And I could see how a team could look at Will Levis and say, okay, he's going to be our starter. Not this team, but I could see how other teams would look at it that way. If Will Levis starts at quarterback, you're probably going to win 4 games this year. But I could see a team that if they had picked him high, and Indy says they were interested if Richardson wasn't there, a team starting Levis and just, fine. We'll deal with the fact that we'll have to punt on 4th down when he misses a gimme check down underneath that could pick up a 1st down because he overthrew the ball a little bit. We'll work with him on those things. I think it's better for him to not play and for them to really nail down the mechanics so that he can work on layering the football and touch passes, and that can go with those just beautiful, effortless tight window throws he was making today. Like, I'm all for that. But I still wonder, how much does it matter that this is his first year and it's Willis's 2nd year, even though they're a month apart in age? 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. And again, normally these takes are just my opinions. And it's, I know this and I feel that. I have no idea how important that is. 615-737-1025. There is one thing that I promised before training camp, and I am committing to. In spite of Malik Willis's good start to training camp and Levis's just awesome day-to-day. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Here we go, in and out of the huddle.
Training camp is underway in the Music City.
We want to try to make sure that we're developing a team.
And we have you covered.
Could Peter Skoronsky be an option at tackle?
How quickly can DeAndre Hopkins get going?
We'll be broadcasting live from training camp with the latest news and storylines from practice.
Ryan Tannehill in the last year of a contract.
It's a different team. It's a different roster.
Training camp coverage is brought to you by the Simmons Bank Open, Caudill Vet Clinic, and Parman Energy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
My student organization was suspended from campus for criticizing the Chinese government. We knew our free speech rights were being violated. That's why we teamed up with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. FIRE launched a full-scale campaign. They talked to the media, sent letters to the school's president, and put billboards up around campus telling our story. That's what FIRE does. They defend everyone's right to free speech. Defend free speech at thefire.org.
Paid for by thefire.org.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats, all shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can be patient with yourself a little bit here with the way it's set up.
I mean, I'm not patient. I'm not being patient. I'm coming in here to work every day and to compete. And I mean, if you're not doing that, regardless of what your position is, you're not only doing yourself, you're doing the team a disservice. So, I mean, that's the mentality we all have right now. I mean, regardless of what string we are, we're working every day as if we are the starter with the same level of intensity. So that's how you got to carry yourself, regardless of what position you're in. So I don't really say I give myself some more leeway in that regard. Just got to come in here and work.
There you go. That was Will Levis today after practice. Gentry's like, you can be patient because Tannehill's going to be the starter. And so if you go in there and then, you can work around. Oh, now. Will Levis is like, I can't be patient. I mean, I'm in the NFL. We got a job to do. And I kind of agree with that. I was thinking about that when I was listening to Levis answer that. And he was talking about how he has to prepare every day to be the starter. I mean, we did see what happened to this team last year, right? Like last year, and I don't know what they were thinking. And I know Tannehill took over in 2019, and he didn't miss a snap after he took the job. And he played in every game in 2020, and he played in every game in 2021. And so there probably wasn't a belief that we had that Ryan Tannehill might not be able to make it through all 17 games last year, even though they went into camp without a left guard or a right tackle, and the left tackle tore his ACL in the second game. So we shouldn't have been surprised when Tannehill ended up getting hurt. But last year, they, being the Titans, tricked themselves into this idea that even though Malik Willis was nowhere near ready to play in NFL games, that he was okay to be the backup. And then when Willis got out there, he had to play. And I'm glad that Will Levis is not under this assumption of, oh, it's okay, take your time, you don't have to play. Because very quickly, as we've learned, Will Levis might have to see himself out there. We're talking about, Levis versus Willis for the backup spot. But those guys might actually have to play. And so I agree with Levis. Don't be patient. I mean, it's go time. Now, if I'm the team, I would love to have the ability to have Will Levis on the bench and really nail down his mechanics this year and everything else so that next year when he's out there, it's slowed down and he's got confidence and everything else. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen. Text her into the text line. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. David in Murfreesboro says, Jared is drinking the Kool-Aid. I have learned to put very little into watching training camp practices. You do not know much until the bullets fly. That's from David in Murfreesboro. He said, I used to listen to this talk like the Bible. It gets you too disappointed or it gets you too high. Here's what I would say to that. Last year, Harold Landry tore his ACL. We had the whole training camp behind us, all the preseason games. I had been to practice. I had watched the preseason. Harold Landry tore his ACL, and news came out at about 2:15 that Harold Landry had torn his ACL. We talked about Harold Landry tearing his ACL for the rest of that hour. TD came on at 3 o'clock. We had TD on for the entire hour. And TD talked about, what it means, where they go from here, who they could possibly sign, all those things. And then at 4 o'clock, I said the Titans are screwed. And you all then, oh, no, Jared, you're overreacting. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's not the. And I said, look, you don't have your leading sacker, and you don't have your leading receiver. And at that point, it was obvious that Burks was not going to contribute enough in order to be able to replace A.J. Brown. So I knew you were screwed. And I said as much. I said, they're screwed. And you people got mad. I actually do believe in training camp practices. Like, if you were to say to me that I have the option of evaluating the Titans team, and I can either do it with practice or with a game, I would take practice over the game because in practice, everything is somewhat controlled, but also I get to see the real players. DeAndre Hopkins is not going to play in the preseason. Ryan Tannehill's not going to play in the preseason. Derrick Henry's not going to play in the preseason. Chigakonkwo and Treylon Burks probably won't play in the preseason. Christian Fulton won't play in the preseason. Jeffrey Simmons won't play in the preseason. Danico Autry, Arden Key, Harold Landry, and I can go on. Like last year, it was kind of like a little bit of an embarrassment that somebody'd have to play in the preseason. It's like, oh, why is he playing in the preseason? Vrabel even had to say, when was playing in the preseason, when did that become a bad thing? So I think the practices are actually more important. That's why I had a buddy who spends a lot of time in Minnesota, and he was like, so when are you going to Minnesota for the Titans game? I'm like, I'll be there Tuesday, and then I'll be on the air Wednesday and Thursday from Minnesota, and then I'm waking up at the butt crack of dawn, and I'm flying back from Minnesota on Friday. And they're like, wait a minute, you're not staying for the game? No. I am not staying for a preseason football game. The practices, where it'll be Justin Jefferson out there, where it'll be Kirk Cousins, that matters. And so, I mean, you can say that, I don't know kind of what the gospel take is as far as, like, getting too high or too low or whatever on practice. I mean, I thought Will Levis was good today at practice. I don't think that makes Will Levis an all-pro quarterback. I don't think that gives him a leg up on the backup job. I don't think anything. I just think it was a good day of practice, and now I want to see if Will Levis will go out there tomorrow and have a good day of practice. And then if Will Levis has 18 straight good days of practice, then I'll feel good about Will Levis as a quarterback. But other than the defense, other than the offensive line, which I am worried about, and I think they kind of stink. Other than the offensive line, I don't have any mass takes about what I've seen through 3 days of practice. But it does matter. I mean, I've always thought the guys who play the best in practice, shockingly, play the best in the preseason games. I've never understood the correlation, but that is, in fact, what happens. The other thing I do want to say on the Levis versus Willis front is I am not going to handicap the positioning for the backup race until after the first preseason game. Because then we'll probably have something like 12 or 13 camp practices under our belts to go off of, and we'll have a game where those two could get hit. And I think Vrabel is going to make the conditions somewhat similar for each. I would envision Willis will probably play 2 series, and then Levis will come in and play 2 series or something like that. And they will be behind similar units, unlike Logan Woodside last year having to go in there and play with the Scarbinis the whole time. I do think they'll mix it up. And so I think they'll both get to play with Kyle Phillips. And I think they'll both get behind the first-string offensive line because the Titans are going to need to play them in a real setting. And I think they'll both get to play with Tajay Spears. And they'll both get to play with Julius Chestnut. And they'll both get to play with all those guys. I do believe that it is unfair to handicap that race until the first preseason game. So I'm not going to do it. And I bet you they're not even doing it inside the building. Like, I'm sure Vrabel in his head has probably asked himself the question of, okay, if I have to pick between Levis or Willis to be the backup against New Orleans, who would I pick? And he maybe keeps it to himself, but I don't think they're sitting there in the meeting rooms with Tim Kelly and Pat O'Hara and Charles London and Rand Carthon and saying, okay, how are we stacking the quarterback position right now? Is it Levis or Willis? I don't think they're doing that yet. Now, after the first preseason game, then I think they will start to do that. But I'm not going to handicap that race, even though I almost think that a lot of people want me to say, Levis is ahead of Willis or Willis is ahead of Levis. I am not going to do that.
It's too early to tell.
It's way too early, and it's okay for it to be too early. Now, let me ask you this question, Ian.
Okay.
Do you think that I am leaning one way or another for the backup spot right
I
now?
do, yes.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Just based on a couple of comments you said about progress this year versus progress last year, trying to compare the quarterbacks where they were at the same point this year versus last year, what you said about Levis as a backup candidate versus what you said about Willis as a backup candidate this year. So I do think you are leaning one way.
So I will say the idea of where Willis was last year, I actually meant that as a question. Like, I don't know if that matters. Like that last year, in his first NFL opportunity, Malik Willis was significantly behind where Will Levis is right now in his first NFL opportunity, or because they're right there with each other right now, it's all even because Levis is 1 month younger than Willis.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean just because Levis might be ahead of where Willis was last year, doesn't necessarily mean Levis is going to continue to make those kind of jumps. So they might just be at an even pattern where they are right now, and it might not mean extra, improvement from Will Levis at this point.
So what's crazy about that is that I don't feel like I'm swayed one way or another about the backup spot.
Okay, that's a good thing, I think, at this point in camp. That's
I do
probably
think the
good.
deck is stacked against Willis. So if Willis is going to win the job, he's got to win it.
Is that
and
just
tie
based
goes to Levis because,
of
again,
the
he was
pick?
a second-round pick.
Yeah.
But I do not feel like I have not made up my mind one iota. I don't think I have, just speaking honestly, I don't think I have one guy ahead of the other.
Are preseason games going to matter much to you?
Yes. They will for them.
Yeah, for them.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in on that. All right, I got some NFL thoughts to get to. Boy, it's a mess in Indianapolis. Woo! I got a couple of thoughts on that. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
It will help them get better players. I'm really excited about this defensive front.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs.
Those players may end up being practice squad guys.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts, Eric Steele and Andy Herring, are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together at cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Green right, box 2 run, double catch. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take.
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I'm just reading a lower third here, one of the major news outlets that said that Jonathan Taylor reported to the Colts when he reported to camp that he had a back injury. But I'm also reading the tweet from Jonathan Taylor himself. Can we still call it a tweet or is it an X? I don't know. This is ridiculous.
I'm calling it a tweet. I don't know about you.
I'm calling it a tweet. Jonathan, on his Twitter handle, he tweets, and this is as of 10:21 p.m. last night. He says, never had a back injury, never reported back pain, not sure whose sources are, but find a new one. In other words, why are you reporting that I said I had a back injury? Here he is clearly saying, don't have a back injury, don't even have back pain, never reported back pain. Why are you even reporting this? So that goes to show you the news outlets, you're carrying water for the team, as our very own Ryan Leaf said. If you're running with that report that this guy has a back injury when he's saying he doesn't. So now it's almost, this is a case that's playing out in front of us. I think that's going to lead to some kind of grievance.
There you go. That was Solomon Wilcots this morning on NFL Radio. Jonathan Taylor versus the Colts. And it feels like it's headed for Judge Judy. And honestly, that might be where it needs to go. I mean, we're talking about Looney Tune land with both Jim Irsay and Jonathan Taylor. Like this Jonathan Taylor and the Colts story, I don't even know where to begin with this story. But Jonathan Taylor is in the 4th year of his rookie deal. So his 4th and final year. And he wants a contract extension. Kind of like A.J. Brown last year. He wants a contract extension. Unfortunately for Jonathan Taylor, the rules in the league do not grant him the ability to really do anything other than what he agreed to do in order to get his contract extension. So Jonathan Taylor began camp with talks of a holdout. And I don't know if he actually held out or not. Last week there was talk that he was holding out, and then Indy Ben texted in and was like, he reported today for training camp. But I guess it didn't go very well. He's still on the PUP list with the ankle injury that he had last year. So he met with Jim Irsay after Jim Irsay made some kind of comment on Twitter because Jim Irsay can't stay off of Twitter. And again, I don't even know where to begin with him. But Jim Irsay talked about it not being a priority to pay the running back, which led to contention and apparently a sit-down on Jim Irsay's bus at training camp, in which they came out from the bus and Jim Irsay felt like things were headed in a positive direction with Jonathan Taylor. And the next thing I know that night, Jonathan Taylor wants a trade. We'll get to that in a second. Then, last night, it came out that Jonathan Taylor showed up, and he showed up with a back injury in his physical, and the Colts were thinking about putting him on NFI, which is reserved for like when somebody crashes a motorcycle. They were thinking about putting him on NFI so they wouldn't have to pay him. And then Jonathan Taylor came out and said that whole back injury thing, that's not true. So let's just look at each side of this here for a second. Let's start with Taylor. I don't know what Jonathan Taylor thinks he's entitled to, and I certainly don't understand in this climate where he got the idea that he was going to get a contract. I mean, running backs who are up for contracts aren't getting contracts. Austin Eckler wanted a new contract. He didn't get one. Josh Jacobs was the league's leading rusher last year, and he doesn't have a contract. Saquon Barkley carried his team into the divisional round of the playoffs last year, and he doesn't have a contract. In fact, I can't think of any team in the league that has gotten ahead of it and given their running back a contract. The reason why teams get ahead of it and give their quarterback the contract is because Philadelphia knew that if they didn't give Jalen Hurts a contract, then Lamar Jackson was going to sign, and Justin Herbert was going to sign, and Joe Burrow was going to sign, and maybe Trevor Lawrence next year was going to sign. And instead of it being $50 million a year for Jalen Hurts, it's going to be $58 million a year for Jalen Hurts. So that's why they jumped out there as soon as they could, and they signed Jalen Hurts. Nobody is doing that with a running back. And then he demands a trade? I'm sorry, is this the NBA? And also demanding a trade to where? He doesn't think he's going to get the contract that he wants from the Colts, so I'll demand a trade. You think any of these teams are willing to jump out there to trade for a running back who they then have to give a contract up to? You do realize that if I wanted Josh Jacobs and I wanted to give him a contract, I could get Josh Jacobs. And he led the league in rushing last year. He's not coming off of an ankle injury in which he's on the PUP list. I think if somebody offered a first-round pick, they could get Saquon Barkley like that. And Jonathan Taylor is not Saquon Barkley. Man, I don't even think Derrick Henry has a trade market. So what is Jonathan Taylor, who does he think Indianapolis is going to trade him to? Who does he think is the mystery team out there that is just dying, that is foaming at the mouth to give a running back a contract extension before he's due a contract? That team doesn't exist. And also, what does Jonathan Taylor think the Colts are going to get out of trading him? Does he think he's worth a second-round pick? Because they're not going to get that. So it's almost impossible for Indy to trade him. So this idea of Jonathan Taylor thinking he's entitled to a contract extension when running backs who are due contract extensions can't get contract extensions is embarrassing. Like, read the room. Look at the economy. In this economy, for running back, sorry, it ain't the same as quarterback. And then to demand a trade as if there is just this overwhelming amount of suitors that are just dying for the opportunity to acquire Jonathan Taylor. Like, get a clue, buddy. So that's Taylor. Then there's the Colts. Irsay didn't have to go on Twitter. Irsay didn't have to have the confrontational conversation with Taylor. Irsay didn't have to float it out there to reporters that they were thinking about playing hardball with Taylor and putting him on NFI. And that's exactly what happened. Irsay has now let this become personal. And that's stupid. What Jim Irsay should have done is what every other team would have done, which is they would have said, we're just really excited about the season, and we're excited about getting ready for this year, and we're excited about going forward, and blah, 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 blah. But instead, Jim Irsay made it personal because Jim Irsay can't help himself. Jim Irsay learned from his father, Bob Irsay, who traded away John Elway because he'd rather roll with Frank Cush than John Elway. Traded him away for a guard. And that's why Indy always finds themselves in the exact same problem with an unbelievable and unprecedented amount of luck that they've had being able to draft John Elway, Peyton Manning, and Andrew Luck, and only having one Super Bowl to show for it. And I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson, who you guys know I absolutely loved, was that level of prospect, but he is really good. I mean, they've been incredibly fortunate to stink at all the right times, and I think they've got the most talented quarterback in this year's draft on their team. And yet the one thing I told you when Indy took him, I said, watch out. If I was Shane Steichen, I would do everything in my power to keep that owner as far away from that quarterback as possible. Because with Irsay, he is always likely to screw it up. Somehow, some way. He is the constant in all of the Colts screw-ups. They draft Richardson 4th overall. We know this is going to be a process. They signed Gardner Minshew in free agency. Gardner is a fringe starter, a lot like Tyrod Taylor, a lot like Baker Mayfield, a lot like guys that they can start. They're not as good as a $40 million quarterback, but they can start. They signed Gardner Minshew. If the Colts were smart, then they would have come out the day that they drafted Anthony Richardson and they would have said Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback. That's what I would have done. Gardner knows Shane Steichen's offense. It'll take Anthony Richardson some time. Anthony Richardson's also 21 years old. But the number one thing that Indianapolis has to have in order to make this Anthony Richardson thing work is they have to run the ball. That's the most important thing. But with Irsay, he's going to want Richardson to start right away. And now he's getting involved in this Jonathan Taylor issue. When the smart thing for the Colts would be to roll out Gardner Minshew and to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And then when they make the transition to Richardson, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Because there is nothing better for a young quarterback than his team's ability to run the ball. And Irsay's screwing both things up. And so I don't know how this ends. My guess is Taylor and Irsay will both come to their senses, and Taylor will begrudgingly play the last year of his deal, and Indianapolis will run the ball some, and this will kind of always be unspoken between the two. They probably won't like each other. And at the end of the year, Jonathan Taylor will probably get to be a free agent. And after having about 650 yards this season, Jonathan Taylor will sign a 1-year, $4.5 million contract to go be a running back somewhere. And instead of the $12, $13, $14 million he thinks he's probably worth, he's going to end up after this season signing a 1-year contract for very little money. And Indianapolis won't have the running back that they need for when Anthony Richardson really becomes their quarterback and starts developing. I told you guys, as much as I loved Richardson, he needed good infrastructure. And that Indianapolis could provide it as long as the owner stayed out of the way. But the owner can't. He just can't.
It's weird. I was trying to do some research about Irsay over this whole weekend when all this stuff was going down, and it sounds like his dad was the overbearing owner of the Colts back in the day. And when very demanding and negative to the players and overbearing and trying to tell everybody what to do. And it was like when he got sick and Jim Irsay took over the Colts, it was like they did an immediate 180 as far as being hands-on and letting the team do their thing and hiring Bill Polian and all that kind of stuff. And, they had that good stretch with Peyton Manning and all that. And it was like they did a complete 180, and now Irsay's almost going back to the overbearing way. It's very confusing.
I mean, I will just tell you that I think Jim Irsay is, like, my dad and I were talking about this last night, and I said, my dad's like, is Irsay really that bad? And he's not as bad as his father. His father is the one who screwed up the Elway thing.
Yeah, and then he, moved the team in the middle of the night. It was his dad that moved the team.
But I do think that somebody has to be responsible for winning one championship with the 20 years of quarterback play that they had. And I don't think it's Peyton's fault. And I don't think it's Polian's fault. And I don't think it's Tony's fault. And I don't think it's Andrew Luck's fault. And the one constant in all of it's Irsay. And we watched Irsay, the last couple of years, put a blowtorch to that team. Even when things were going well. Like that video he posted on Twitter outside of his airplane about Carson Wentz. Like only things that crazy people do. So I think Irsay is a total, I think he just stay out of it. Like just say, hey, Chris is the general manager. Let Ballard be the bad guy to say, no, we're not going to do that. 615-737-1025. Again, I'm not exactly sure how this ends with this, but it's bad. It's bad for Indy. And no, Indy Ben is not texted into the text line today. I'm a little surprised by that. Now, the other story in the NFL. Sean Payton versus Nathaniel Hackett with Robert Saleh. And now Aaron Rodgers has joined part of the suit. We'll get to that coming up next. And why, quite frankly, I think everybody wins. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company. Hey, by the way, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Download that Twice Daily app. That's right. You know that's my app. You know Twice Daily is my spot. Join their loyalty program to unlock special discounts, savings, and so much more. It pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You'll earn points and save money with every visit. Get what you crave at Twice Daily. Made to order sandwiches, bakery, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fresh items made to go. They got hot drinks, cold drinks, and you can stop by the beer cave to unwind with an ice-cold brew. If you're looking for convenience, Twice Daily has you covered. Buy any hot dog piled high with your choice of toppings, a bag of Frito-Lay chips, and your choice of a 20-ounce Coke or Pepsi for only $5 with the app. Offer ends August 28th. Twice Daily, fresh all day.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one.
Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay,
but Derek, let's Professor Derek. They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats, all shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is back in Nashville August 4th through 6th and is a must-see experience that has something for everyone to enjoy. 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan has all your coverage leading to the race, including driver interviews with Chase McCabe, ticket giveaways, and much more.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter day one.
Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but Derek, let's Professor Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I'm not going to ask you about Sean Payton's comments directly, but I will ask you to maybe address Nathaniel Hackett as a coach and what he means to you and what he can bring to this Jets team. That story goes out there. I had about 1 million texts from people in the coaching community saying that was out of line. Yet you see Hackett out here, he's still pumped up. I don't think it affects him as much as maybe it affects everyone on the outside. And yet you and him have this great bond and union together where you've always had his back, he's always had yours.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach, my love for Hackett goes deep. You know, we had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, you know, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Ooh, Aaron Rodgers yesterday. By the way, can we just address the beginning of that cut for a second from Peter Schrager? So this weekend was back together weekend. The NFL makes a big deal about it when training camps start. You know, they have all these people live all at different training camps, and they go around. So they get the coach and the quarterbacks and everything else on. And so can we play the beginning of that cut? This is what I freaking hate about some people in the media. And not that I hate Schrager because I don't even know him. But, I mean, do you really have to be that soft about it? Like, does it really have to be Charmin soft? Aaron Rodgers is sitting down. Oh, Aaron, we don't want to offend you, so let's just I'm not going to ask you about Sean Payton's comments because, God forbid, I ask you what everybody wants to know about and what he clearly wanted to talk about. God forbid I ask you about that. Play the beginning of that cut.
I'm not going to ask you about Sean Payton's comments directly, but I will ask you.
Why not?
To maybe address Nathaniel Hackett as a coach and what he means to you. And
why not? Why can't you ask him about that? Oh, it's so soft. And that's the problem with the media today. And that's why people do interviews for, like, you know, the team media website. It's so embarrassing. Like, that whole thing. I mean, it drives me insane. Like, when, you know, we would do these Zoom press conferences and the Predators would have the Predators.com person ask the first question. And just, why? Like, they can walk down the hall and ask the question. We know. It's like NFL Network. Hey, don't ask anything controversial. And, of course, when Aaron said what he said, then the first thing that came out was NFL Network wants everyone to know what Aaron said. Just to ask the question, not hard. It's not like you're asking him about his divorce. Oh, that got me worked up. But I do love this story. I do love this Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers versus Sean Payton. And yet, sometimes when it comes to these things, everybody determines who the winner is based upon who they like. So, for instance, when there's a debate, a presidential debate, if you like the Democratic candidate, you're going to think he won and, he dunked on him. And if you like the Republican candidate, unless it's just an unbelievable disgrace from one side or the other, then you'll say, he dunked on him. And people love that. But I actually think in the Sean Payton, Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers fiasco, literally everybody is a winner. First off, I think what Sean Payton did had nothing to do with Hackett, and it had nothing to do with the Jets. And it certainly didn't have anything to do with Rodgers, even though he called out Hackett and he called out the Jets. I think the reason why Sean Payton did that, and I brought this up last week, was I think he needed to make Nathaniel Hackett the scapegoat. And because the confidence in Russell Wilson is so low, he had to make him the scapegoat publicly. Everybody thinks Russell Wilson stinks, me included. And Sean Payton knows that. And Sean Payton knows that Russell's confidence is probably here. And remember, Sean Payton didn't want that job. Sean Payton wanted the other jobs. Sean Payton wanted the Dolphins job, but then that didn't open. He wanted the Cowboys job, but that didn't open. He wanted the Chargers job. And for some reason, miraculously, that hasn't come open. In fact, I think he wanted the Texans job more than he wanted the Broncos job, because he knew that he was stuck with Russell if he took the Broncos job. And so the Broncos didn't really want him, and he didn't want them, and that's why they went after Harbaugh so hard. And finally, nobody wanted the Broncos, and nobody wanted Payton, so they ended up paying him such a big contract that he couldn't say no. So he knows he's stuck with Russell, at least for right now. So I think that he went out of his way to throw Hackett under the bus, to make him the scapegoat, to say, hey, Russell, you weren't the problem. And to look at the locker room that probably has soured on Russell a little bit. Hey, Russell's not the problem. He's the problem, Nathaniel Hackett. That's why he did that. And I think the locker room took note. But what's crazy, thank you. Because I don't think anything galvanizes a locker room like somebody who's a part of the brotherhood being targeted and bullied. And if Aaron Rodgers' comments echo with the rest of the team, and I think they probably will since he's the leader, I think you're going to see the Jets, if I was Saleh and Hackett, I think you'll see the Jets galvanize together behind this. Hey, nobody talks about our coach like that. That's not true. We'll show them. Training camp, it's all about the messaging, and hey, we're all together as one. We're all going to work together, teamwork. But when Sean Payton says this, it makes it easier for the coach to be able to push that. So I actually think that's a good thing for the Jets. And then I think it's a good thing for all of us, because it's going to be on Hard Knocks this year. And the Jets have already whined and complained about not wanting to do Hard Knocks. And, we're not going to let them show people getting cut. It's not fair. We don't want to do Hard Knocks. Well, at least this will be on there. And this is way more interesting than telling me about, the 7th-round pick at a Lafayette State who might not even make the team as a backup long snapper, and showing me his college girlfriend and, I'm just so excited to be here rooting him on. I hope he makes the team. That's not very interesting to me anymore. But this, Aaron Rodgers, when he finds out, the meeting room the day after when Robert Saleh addresses the team, now that is some tea. So I actually love this. I think it's good for the Broncos. I think it's good for the Jets. I think it's good for Payton. I think it's good for Hackett. I think it's good for Russell. I think it's good for Aaron. And I think it's good for TV. Good job, Sean Payton. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I wish, after being at today's Titans practice, I wish I had Mel Kuiper Jr.'s phone number. I'll explain why. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game. And a reminder that we do have an opportunity for you to win something later in today's show. So good luck to you if you were listening when we kind of laid that out there. You could win those Sounds tickets, but you'll have to remember how when the time is right. But we've also got another opportunity. 102.5 has the chance to win single-day passes to the Bourbon and Beyond Festival in Louisville, Kentucky, Thursday, September 14th through Sunday, September 17th. Text in the keyword Sunday now to 615-737-1025 for your chance to win a pair of passes to the Sunday show featuring Bruno Mars, Blondie, and more. Good luck. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Treylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
So you're in the middle of a kitchen update, and you can't tell if that's a faucet stem or a flange. With the Home Depot app, doing doesn't miss a beat. It'll find what you need in a snap, and it'll show you how to find it in store with a tap. Or get it delivered free. For doing that doesn't stop, download the Home Depot app. It's made for doing.
Your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Tennessee Titans were back on the practice field today for their first padded practice of training camp. Head coach Mike Vrabel on what he saw on the first day in pads.
Looked like there were some good things there today. We'll see, take a look at the tape. But, felt like there was good energy throughout the practice on both sides, special teams, drills. So thought we practiced with some speed. I thought there was, we stayed up. We tried to take care of each other, and that's what we'll have to do, come back tomorrow and do it again.
There's some trouble brewing in Colts camp up in Indianapolis. Running back Jonathan Taylor has reportedly asked for a trade after a meeting with owner Jim Irsay. The Colts have said that they have no plans on trading Taylor, and they are considering placing him on the non-football injury list due to a back injury. To make things worse, backup Colts running back Zach Moss broke his arm and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Some injury news in Denver, as it is feared Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick tore his Achilles, and former Vols running back Alvin Kamara is set to visit with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to discuss his offseason arrest and potential discipline. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And I said this at the end of the last segment. I wish I had Mel Kuiper Jr.'s phone number. Because if I had Mel Kuiper Jr.'s phone number, I'd send him a text, or I might even call him. And I might say, Mel? And he'd say, who is this? Like Jared Stillman, former women's basketball manager at Louisville. You remember me coming out? Oh, yes, of course. You were great with the water and the towels back in the day. I mean, you had a great explosion when you – yeah, exactly, Mel. Mel, watch Will Levis today at Titans practice, and he looked like a first-rounder. I mean, he looked the way you hyped him up to be. Because remember, for about 18 months, Mel Kuiper would not stop when it came to Will Levis. And I remember because everybody used to get so mad. You know, they go out there, Tennessee play Kentucky, and Hendon Hooker would throw the ball all over the yard, and Will Levis had a couple of interceptions, and after the game was over, they'd bring on Mel Kuiper, and they'd say, Mel, what do you think about Hendon Hooker now? And, well, I still think he's more like a day 2, day 3 quarterback, maybe the late end of the first round, maybe makes his way into day 2. Well, what about Will Levis? He was terrible, Mel. Yeah, you know, I think he's like a Matthew Stafford, Troy Aikman hybrid. And everyone, oh, my God, what's Mel watching? What's he saying? What's he doing? And Mel just stayed on Levis. The tape was, was what it was. The stats were horrible last year for Will Levis. Now, when I watched the Georgia tape, and it was the only game that I watched, and I did end up watching Tennessee after they drafted him, but I watched the Georgia tape, and I was actually impressed, even though they only scored 6 points. I was actually impressed. But I think America enjoyed the egg on both Will Levis's face on draft night when he didn't go in the first round, but also on Mel Kuiper's face, who had been hyping up Will Levis for 18 months when he didn't go in the first round. A bunch of us regular Joes that flipped on the TV, watched Kentucky play this year, and said, he's not going in the first round. We were all told by Mel Kuiper we were wrong, and then he ended up not going in the first round, which takes me to practice today. And I'm just going to read you each throw that Will Levis made. Today was red zone work. Now, they did have the pads on for the first time. Tannehill went first in 7-on-7. And he did throw an interception on a ball intended for DeAndre Hopkins, which was not a great ball. Willis went second. And he did make a good throw there at the end. Then Levis. 8 complete to 83. Big gain over the middle. Effortless, good ball. 8 complete to 82. Tight window throw, 20 yards over the middle. Again, effortless, great ball. 8 complete to 80. Perfect throw. His first 3 throws of the day were tight window, strong-armed, effortless NFL passes. Levis threw 1 incompletion today, and in my notes, it was intended for number 19. I believe that's Jacob Copeland. It was intended for number 19. Good throw in my notes. Good coverage by 39. I don't know who 39 for the Titans is. Later in my notes for Levis, 8 complete to 80, powerful, tight, in all caps, powerful, tight throw. Will Levis, 6 of 7 in the red zone, and 4 touchdowns. 3 in a row. It's 1 day of practice. So I'm not going to get carried away and start talking about how every team in the league missed on Will Levis, about how could the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have some kind of quarterback battle between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, how could they possibly, with the 19th overall pick in the draft, pass on Will Levis when they don't have a quarterback for Kalijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh? I'm not going to yell about the Washington Commanders, who are going forward with Sam Howell, and how they could pass on Will Levis. I'm not even going to tell you that I think that Will Levis is going to be the backup on the Titans this year, because I don't know that, and I'm not sure I necessarily feel that way. But today, everything that Mel Kuiper Jr. had told you, Will Levis looked like. In fact, do we have a Mel talking about Will Levis?
Sure, yeah.
This was Mel before the draft talking about Levis.
Mel, tell me this. Which quarterback will be the best pro?
Molly,
As terms of my rankings, it's Will Levis from Kentucky. And you got to forget this year, he was banged up. He was beat up, played behind a horrible offensive line. Go back to 2021 when he had some help. He had Luke Fortner anchoring that offensive line, who did a heck of a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. Darian Kennard was there as well in that O-line. He had Wan'Dale Robinson, who was now a New York Giant, catching the football. He was 10-3. He was outstanding. Had 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 rushing touchdowns before he was hurt. When he was hurt, he only had 0. Last 8 games, 0 rushing touchdowns. Played with multiple injuries. Played through those injuries. Gutted it out. Got himself on the field every week till the end, okay? But when he had to say, hey, I got to let my body heal. Will Levis, to me, forget the turnovers. You got to make plays. Turnovers happen when you got to force plays. Tennessee game 3 picks. They're behind. What's the difference? You lose 30-0 or you lose 50-0, right? So Will Levis, to me, is the guy who may not be the first quarterback taken, but will be the best quarterback out of this draft. And we've seen that over the years. Guys that are the best quarterbacks aren't always the first or even the second quarterback taken in the first round that particular year.
Okay. I mean, if Mel had been at practice today, I think he would have said, see? I mean, I told you, look at the tight release, the effortless throw. I mean, the base with which he throws off of. That was what Levis looked like today. I mean, I was just sitting there. I didn't go to practice today with an agenda. I mean, I don't think that if you listen to this show on a consistent basis that you think that I'm pro-Levis or anti-Levis. I mean, I said last week when Justin Herbert signed his massive contract, as a Titan fan, I hope and I pray that one day my team will have the honor of paying somebody $262.5 million. I would love that. It would make my year. Because that means that they have a franchise quarterback. And it could be Levis. A lot of the knocks on Herbert coming out were similar to the knocks on Levis. A lot of the things that people like about Herbert, the big arm, the great body, the athleticism, Levis has those things too. So, I mean, there's some things to work with when it comes to Levis. But today, on July 31st, 2023, he looked everything that Mel Kuiper had been hyping him up to be. I stood there in the back corner of the end zone when they ran the 11-on-11 and the 7-on-7s, and too many times with Levis did I think to myself, wow, and that was today. After practice was over, and I kind of kept to myself for most of practice, which is even hard for me to believe because I do socialize a lot at practice. But I really kept to myself today. And after practice was over, I walked up to Joe, and I had right there on the tip of my tongue, I was going to say to Joe Rexroad, hey, did you see, is it just me or was Levis out here cooking today? And before I even got to him, he looked at me and said, boy, Levis today, woof. I was like, okay, so it's not just me that thought the story of practice today was how good Will Levis looked. But again, it's one day. It's not a career. It's not even really a representation of what to expect tomorrow in practice. I know it sounds like one of these players at the podium when they say something that you hear, but it goes in one ear out the other because we're so used to hearing it. But I just think it would be really nice if Will Levis follows up what was a really good day today with a really good day tomorrow. But I'm not expecting Will Levis to follow up today with a really, really good day tomorrow. It would be nice. Now, if Levis has 5 or 6 days like this in a row, then we're going to be having a different discussion. But right now, for a rookie who's in his first real week of training camp in the NFL, his first padded practice in the NFL, to wow us the way he did today, that's very impressive. And you can be the biggest Will Levis hater in the world. And I know a lot of you are. I know a lot of you hate Will Levis. Just say it. You cursed the Titans when they made that pick. When I told you at 4:30 on that Friday that I had been hearing from people in the league that were telling me Tennessee was trying to move up to be able to take Will Levis in the second round, you cursed your radio and you said, I hope that's not true, and you wanted it to not be true, and guess what? They did it, and you got mad. So you might be the biggest Will Levis hater there ever was, and you may be right in the end. You may be laughing at Mel Kiper Jr. 3 years from now if Will Levis is trying to make it in the XFL. But all I can go off of is what happened today. And today, Will Levis looked the part. He was accurate. He was on the target. He was on time. The ball came out of his hand effortlessly, and it was a freaking rocket. The stuff that you can't coach, he showed us today. Now, can he fix the other holes in his game? Because what we saw today was just a little glimpse of what special looks like at that position. But it was just for today. Just for today. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Levis versus Willis is heating up. And Mike Vrabel said something today that is a positive with Will Levis, but might just be the Titans quarterback room. And I think it's a great thing. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. If you were listening earlier today on the program, you heard a particular quarterback that I mentioned in conjunction with Ryan Tannehill's ranking, with Ryan Tannehill's ranking in the latest edition of the Athletics quarterback tiers. Who is that quarterback? Be the first person to tell Ian at 615-737-1025, and you'll win a family 4-pack to see the Sounds take on the Durham Bulls at First Horizon Park this Thursday. That's caller 5 at 615-737-1025. Good luck. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's a long summer. But don't worry. Hockey will be back soon. You'll hear every slap shot, save, hit, and of course,
knocked down in front, rebound, and the score!
On your home for Smashville, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Is it October yet?
This week at the Electronic Express Summer Clearance Sales Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all major appliances in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, purchase now, pay later with up to 5-year special financing. Shop the Summer Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history. Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special. Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I know it's just a practice, but what is it like to be out here in front of fans?
It's cool. It's cool. I mean, getting to sign and meet the fans and talk to these kids on the sideline. It reminds us what we're doing this for. And I remember when I was little going to training camp practices and how excited I was to try to get autographs and watch the guys from a distance and watch them work. It's kind of funny, like you're just watching us at work, and, but it's a lot of fun, and anytime we get some fans, it changes the environment a little bit, which is cool.
I like the little girl that came up to you and said, "You're really sweating."
Yes, that's true. That's true. I've definitely a sweating problem.
There you go, Will Levis. He's got a sweating problem, according to him. Now, I just want to point this out, that today after practice was over, and today was a practice in which they had a lot of fans out there, because, again, a lot of you don't like Levis, and I've really asked, what is it about Levis that you all don't like? And a lot of times it's, well, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's those kind of things. Remember the Rich Gannon take about how he doesn't need the 3 beautiful women with him at the draft, one of which was his mom and another of which was his sister? So I guess Rich Gannon wants him to tell Abby, hey, you need to stay home at the draft. Well, why can't I come? You're too hot. And I can't have my sister being too hot at the draft, so you have to stay home. And it's funny because a lot of people don't like those things about Levis. But today at practice, they had fans out there, and they signed autographs right after practice was over. In fact, I saw Tannehill and Levis, make a beeline for the fans. And I was wondering where they were going because they were practicing today on the far field, but then they were running over to where all the fans were. And immediately I saw them grab Sharpies and they started signing. And Tannehill signed for a long time too, by the way. But the horn goes off about 15 minutes after they start signing, which is kind of at that point, the players can now say, okay, hey, I got to go inside. I'm sorry, whatever. And Will Levis signed, I have to believe, every autograph he could have signed today. Because I was with a bunch of people in the media that were waiting to talk to Will Levis today because Will Levis was the story of training camp. And he just kept signing and signing and signing and signing. And I told Gentry Estes at the Tennessee, and I said, there's a part of me that wants to tell Levis, like, hey, man, hurry it up. We want to talk. But at the same time, the idea of a kid going home without an autograph, and that kind of breaks everybody's heart. So keep signing. And the horn went off. And Levis kept signing and signing and signing. And I don't even know when Levis stopped signing because Vrabel went to the podium. And so I was like, well, I got to go over where Vrabel is. And so then the rest of the media caught up with Will Levis. And I don't know if he signed literally every autograph there. But for the people that knock Levis and don't like his personality, I just wanted to tell that story because I do think it does say something about him. Now, one thing I do wonder about is how is Will Levis going to handle the downs? Today was the ups where he was on fire and he looked the part of a first-round draft choice. But how is he going to handle the down? I know how Tannehill handles the down. I know how Malik has handled the downs because last year was probably as low as it can get. Being benched at the end of the season with your team in contention for a playoff spot for a guy that they signed off somebody else's practice squad who's 6 years in the NFL's never made it? That can't be great for your confidence. But how does Levis handle it? And I asked Rabel about that, and in a very Vrabel way, he tried to make it not about Will Levis. Mike, how do you think Will Levis has done in terms of making a mistake and then going over it, whether it's with the film or in the meeting room, and then coming back out and working on whatever the mistake was the first time?
I mean, I think everybody does that, and that's what we ask him to do, whether it's, Ryan today had one behind, D-Hop, and so, he'll come out tomorrow and spot a couple of those throws up to DeAndre. Will's going to do the same thing with the things that Timmy and Charles and Pat will talk to him about this afternoon, and Malik will do the same thing. So I think they all, everybody I think is coachable. I think that's something that I love about this team is that they are coachable. We're going to try to coach as much as we can and then, get them to the game and let them go play.
Okay. It's funny. I ask about Levis, specifically, he has a bad day. Does he come out? Does he fix the mistakes? Does he? Rabel, I mean, I think everybody does that. Really? You mean to tell me that there's not somebody on the team who you have to correct the same things over and over and over again. And with 90 players on that team, there is at least somebody there that they have that issue with. I think everybody does that. But Vrabel doesn't want to make it about Levis, so he talks about how Tannehill does it that way. Malik does it that way. But I do think that may be the strength of Levis. The real question with Levis, and it's really this way with all these quarterbacks. Now, some of these quarterbacks can be put in situations to fail, and then they end up failing because too much is asked of them too soon. I think that's what happened to David Carr. Not Derek Carr, but his older brother David with the Texans. He was put behind a team that had no offensive line, and they got him killed. But I think with Levis, one thing I do wonder, because he's got mechanical issues that he has to work through, and he has decisions that the tape showed at Kentucky that he has to be able to work through. Can he correct the mistakes? What I was really asking Vrabel with that question was, is there really any example of where Will Levis has done something that you didn't like, and then he turned around, and now that he's been here for a week in training camp, has found a way to fix it? Because if he can do that, then with the talent that he showed us today, and the talent that even you Will Levis haters, that he has, he could be pretty good. And remember, when it comes to the coachability aspect of this, what Mark Stoops said 2 weeks ago at SEC Media Days when I asked him about Will Levis. You've been around a lot of great quarterbacks and different programs and stuff in your life. What does he bring that maybe makes you feel like he can meet that potential in the NFL?
Well, the first thing that he has, everybody's going to expect me to talk about the enormous talent that he has, but really it's the work ethic that he has. And at that level, I know everybody says that, right? Every single person, every single quarterback is going to say that. I can promise you from what I've seen that he's going to work. And I know how hard it is to be successful at that position in the NFL. I also think it's very important to have the right system and the right people around him to help that quarterback be successful. But I know he will work, extremely hard. And he'll be relentless. It's not about being a starter. It's not about money. It's about winning and performing for his players. And I think that's the biggest thing with him is he is ultra competitive. And again, that's redundant, right? Everybody says that, but I saw it. I saw the way he worked. And then if you work like that, then let the talent go to work.
Okay. I know Levis has the talent. I saw it today. I saw effortless, easy throws. Just beautiful. Some of the balls that he zipped into those windows, it was like Nolan Ryan just right in there. And so I know he's got the talent. I know he's got the athleticism. I know he's got a big, durable body, which makes me think that early in his career he can run with the football and maybe take some hits. He can stand in the pocket and take them. I watched him in the Georgia game last year, will Kentucky back into the game with a deep ball throw. Can he fix his mistakes? Vrabel says so far, yeah, he's doing it. Although when Vrabel said it was everybody's doing it. But then Stoops went to the wall for him talking about how hard he works. And that gives me a lot of hope. I was impressed today. And I was impressed really with the whole Megillah when it came to work. Even the end was signing autographs for everybody. But again, it was just one day. So we'll see if he can stack today with tomorrow. And if he throws 4 interceptions tomorrow, and this is something that we've talked about on this program, that we do not under any circumstance get anybody in trouble for something they haven't done. But if he does throw 4 interceptions tomorrow at camp, then that'll be the story tomorrow. And we'll address it then. I'm not ruling out that because today was a good day, that tomorrow will also be a good day or won't be a bad day. But I was really impressed today with Will Levis. And I think if you were there today, even if you were a Will Levis hater, a Will Levis denier, I think it would be hard not to say, wow, he showed some serious talent today. Some serious arm talent. Some good balls. I do want to bring this up, though. Malik threw a pass to the sideline on Saturday, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but Malik threw a ball deep and on the sidelines, and Colton Dowell dropped it. But that throw was so good that I watched it and I just, let out a couple expletives because I was so impressed with that throw.
Like that Chiefs throw that was dropped by Conley.
So it's funny you say that because I made that exact comparison. I think I was standing there with Joe, and I think I made that exact comparison at that point in time. It was just a freaking beaut. 30 yards down the field, right on a rope, and it hit him right in the hands. I was like, oh, my God. But I didn't say, oh, my God. Oh, my God. And then Dowell dropped the ball. But it was Malik made a throw like that. Then on Saturday, Malik had a throw where Rashad Weaver dropped into coverage, and Rashad Weaver intercepted the pass. And so, you throw an interception to a fat guy, and it's like, but then on the next throw, he dropped a bomb in there for Chris Moore for a touchdown. Very Jekyll and Hyde, those two throws back.
Heard some good things from Vrabel on Chris Moore over the weekend, too.
Yeah, Vrabel was losing his pants about Chris Moore, which I'm not exactly sure where Chris Moore fits in, but he'll probably end up making the team. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Ryan Tannehill disrespect tour continues. He's a tier 3 quarterback, but he's at the bottom of tier 3. Not according to me, not according to some media guy, not according to people inside the NFL. And I have a burning question to ask about Tannehill, and I would ask every single one of these executives this question, and we'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I don't mind going to another team.
You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
All this week, tune in for the keyword to text into the game text line at 615-737-1025 for your chance to win a pair of single-day passes to Bourbon and Beyond in Louisville, Kentucky, September 14th through the 21st. Artists performing include Bruno Mars, The Black Keys, The Killers, Brandi Carlile, and more. Again, listen for the keyword all this week. Here on 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
For now, Tannehill good enough to be right in the dead center of all starting quarterbacks at 16. Why do you have him there?
He's still really good. I mean, you look at the Tennessee Titans, the thing I'd say right off the bat is Ryan Tannehill ain't the problem with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you get down to the list of the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill doesn't come up to a long, long time down that list. He's one of the most consistent passers in the NFL. Rarely do I come away coming from watching a game on film of the Tennessee Titans going, oh, man, Tannehill and a lot of bad decisions. Oh, Tannehill missed a lot of wide open receivers and just couldn't throw the ball accurate. No way. That's where he's special in that department. He maximizes what they do on the offense. It's not sexy, Mike. He doesn't have a sexy personality, so he's kind of always that guy. You know, he's not a superstar either. So he's the kind of guy sometimes that, you know, everybody looks for, ooh, I think we can do better. And I want to be like, well, all right, well, be careful with that, you know, because all I know is, you know, again, this is where I'm here to do this. Hey, the support system around him last year was not good. I mean, come on.
There you go. That was Chris Sims. And the summer of disrespect continues for Ryan Tannehill. Today, it was the annual athletic quarterback tears. This is Mike Sando, who talks to all the insiders in the league, and I'm talking about the actual people that are inside the league. 50 NFL coaches and executives, 8 general managers, 10 head coaches, 15 coordinators, 10 executives, 4 quarterback coaches, and 3 involved in coaching and analytics. So these are general managers, head coaches, and where they're putting these guys. And they've got Ryan Tannehill 22nd. Here's who's ahead of Tannehill. Justin Fields. Justin Fields, and I know that winning is not just one guy's fault and one guy's responsibility. Justin Fields won 3 games last year. And we're going to put him ahead of Tannehill? Geno Smith, who was given 2 cracks at a starting job in New York with the Jets and New York with the Giants, and has been a backup, I think, for like the last 6 years, and he's ahead of Tannehill. Daniel Jones, whose team didn't even pick up the 5th-year option on him last year. Jimmy Garoppolo, whose team has been trying to get rid of him for the last couple of years. He's 18, Tannehill's 22. Tua, who wasn't good as a rookie, wasn't good last year, can't stay healthy, and has probably the best receivers in the NFL. Russell Wilson, who was awful last year. Now, Jared Goff's 15. I think he's probably better than Tannehill. Derek Carr, who, again, we've been over the stats. Over their entire careers, Tannehill is ahead of Carr. Over the last 3 years, Tannehill has been better than Carr. And last year, without the leading rusher, which Carr had, without Devontae Adams, which Carr had, without Darren Waller at tight end, which Carr had, Tannehill had better stats across the board than Derek Carr. Kyler Murray, who sucks, he's 13. And I keep wondering, these are coaches, these are general managers that think that Tannehill stinks. I mean, this season when the Titans get ready to play these games, these coaches are going to go to the podium and they're going to talk about how good Tannehill is. They're going to say, oh, yeah, you know, Tannehill, he's outstanding. You know, I mean, we worry about playing a guy like him. He's won a lot of ball games in this league, and he's very successful. And, you know, when we're going up against a good quarterback like him, it's going to be a tough week this week. It's like, well, excuse me, sir, you did not vote that in the poll. I know. Because Tannehill's voting, as far as Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tannehill's vote breakdown this year, 1 Tier 2 vote. He got 2 Tier 5 votes. Tier 5 is like, no offense, Malik. He got 2 Tier 5 votes, 1 Tier 2 vote. Unbelievable. Last year he got 5 Tier 2 votes, and he was much better in 22 than he was in 21. So I feel like they're kind of going in the wrong direction. But the Ryan Tannehill tour of disrespect continues. And here's the one question I have, and then I promise to your phones. And this is what I would ask these coaches and these general managers and all these people out there that think that Tannehill sucks. And maybe we'll get Rick Spielman on the show, and I'll talk to him about this. I actually think Mark Dominic thinks highly of Tannehill, but maybe we'll get him on the show, and we'll ask him. How is Tannehill that much better than Kirk Cousins, or how is he that much worse than Kirk Cousins? Or Jimmy Garoppolo? Or any of these quarterbacks? I mean, Dak Prescott turned 30 years old over the weekend. I think Dak Prescott's fine. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I mean, off the top of my head, how many quarterbacks do I just think right now, oh, yeah, he's going to win a Super Bowl? I mean, I do think Mahomes is probably going to win at least another one, especially with Andy Reid as his coach. I think Burrow is going to win a couple of Super Bowls if he stays healthy. Allen, maybe, although I think, right now this is a big gut check year for him. Aaron Rodgers has already won one, but has that ship sailed? Maybe, maybe not. But outside of that, I don't feel strongly about Kyler Murray winning a Super Bowl, Kirk Cousins winning a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott winning a Super Bowl. And what I think about the league is I do feel like the league, there's about 4 or 5 teams that have high-end quarterbacks, and they wouldn't trade their quarterback for anybody. Cincinnati would not trade Joe Burrow for anybody. The Chargers, they've got that quarterback. But outside of those 5, 6 teams, I almost feel like everybody's in the same position. If you get good receivers and good coaching and good line play and a solid defense, that quarterback will win a lot of games. And if you have bad coaching and bad receivers then they won't be very good. And so when Tannehill had Todd Downing and Adam Gase, he wasn't very good. When Tannehill didn't have an offensive line, they didn't win a lot of games. When Tannehill had Arthur Smith and A.J. Brown, he was in the AFC Championship game. He was comeback player of the year. And I think almost all these guys are somewhat the same. And what happens is, as long as they're not losers inside, and I don't think Tannehill's a loser inside, as long as they're not losers inside, they're guys that teams can win with to a certain point. That's what Kirk Cousins is. I mean, I don't understand how you can argue Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Tannehill. By what metric? Winning? Nope. Tannehill does that better. Quarterback rating? Nope. Tannehill does that better. Touchdowns and interceptions? Nope. Tannehill does that better. Playing better with good talent around him? Nope. Tannehill does that better. So I don't know. That would be my question is, okay, somebody just tweeted me. It said, I heard you say that Tannehill would never win. You're right. He's never going to win the Super Bowl. Neither is Derek Carr. Derek Carr is never going to win the Super Bowl. So what makes him different than Tannehill? That would be the question I would ask.
I think a lot of the scouts and the executives, we talk about this with the quarterbacks, but they love quarterback traits and not necessarily statistics, but, arm strength and size and speed.
But then why don't they like Jameis Winston?
Well, I mean, I think they did at one point.
Well, yeah, but they liked Tannehill at one point too.
Yeah, and so when all these younger guys that have stronger arms and are faster and all this kind of stuff, Tannehill keeps getting pushed down the list.
But again, what, Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, that I don't know. That's, he doesn't
Derek Carr?
Derek Carr probably has a better arm than Tannehill.
But Derek Carr's teams suck.
So, Jimmy G definitely is a tricky one. I guess people think he can win in the playoffs some, even though he's
Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I guess he's won a Super Bowl, so people go with that.
10 years ago.
So, yeah. I'm with you. I get a lot of it.
The thing is for me is that, honestly, I just think it truly is just, in my opinion, blatant disrespect. It's a misrepresentation of what Tannehill is. And I don't know if that's because Tannehill's not showy. I don't know if that's because Rand Carthon took forever to finally commit to him. I don't know if it's because they tried to replace him the last 2 years or if it's the 3 interceptions in the Bengals game. I don't know.
Sounds like a combination of all of it, maybe.
But he's not that bad. He did not have a bad season last year, in spite of the fact that they didn't win. Go back to that Thursday night game at Lambeau Field. That's a national TV game, and Tannehill was great. I don't get it. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Trent has been waiting patiently on Will Levis. Go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, hey, just want to say I am 100% Team Tannehill. I don't hate Will Levis, but the only reason that I am skeptical on it is for the last 8 years, all I have known is when Mariota came into the league, you heard about how good his training camp was, all these completions, no interceptions, no incompletions. And then, of course, you know, what happened there, they brought in Tannehill to compete, and Tannehill won. I'm wondering, do you guys think, again, I'm Team Tannehill, but if something, barring injury, happens to where his performance drops, do they throw Levis in, or do they ride it out with Tannehill and see what draft pick they can get out of it?
So I don't think they'll trade Tannehill unless something crazy happens, and I appreciate your call, Trent. I think the thing that I've decided about this, and I don't think it's wrong to talk about what they might do or what plans would be, or these hypotheticals about, well, what about 2024 and what about, but I think everything to me with the Titans is a let's see approach. So when you say, like, at any point this year, would they dump Tannehill and move on to Levis? Well, let's see. I mean, let's watch Levis play in the preseason and get a vibe of whether or not he's ready. And then let's see Tannehill play in the regular season. And if the team is 1-5 and Tannehill can't hit the broadside of a barn, not that I expect that to happen. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it won't happen. But if that's the case, then they'll probably make a switch. If Tannehill plays the way I think Tannehill's capable of playing, and Levis plays the way that Levis played today, then I think Tannehill's the starting quarterback, and they'll really hammer home the mechanics and try to really work on layering the football for Levis and all of those things. And then there may be a chance that Tannehill's still the quarterback next year. But I don't think there's a definitive answer on this of anything that could happen, because I don't think the Titans have made a definitive answer about this. 615-737-1025. More of your phones, plus the big question that we've had the last couple of days. We get Mike Vrabel to answer it. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Henry, touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
I fully expected DeAndre Hopkins wanting a one-year deal.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Touchdown, Tennessee.
You're going to make a trade like this.
Does he want to retire a Tennessee Titan?
The door's on the board.
Such superstar players. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The FedEx St. Jude Championship returns to TPC Southwind, August 9th through the 13th. Don't miss your chance to witness the top 70 players from the PGA Tour season battle it out in the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Only 50 players will make it through Memphis. Don't miss your chance to watch the drama unfold. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys, with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats. All shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable. But for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it.
But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at FBHP.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
When it comes to Chase McCabe,
The Nashville Predators, the Titans, the NBA, college football, talk a little racing.
you get a little bit of everything.
But hey, you know what? We're getting it done.
Join Chase McCabe weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I know there's always daily ups and downs, Will, but still, anytime like you have a day like today where you had the back-to-back TD passes, nice little boost of confidence, make you feel like you're making some strides.
Yeah, I mean, every time, like I missed a throw over the middle the other day, it's like you don't think about it, but then you end up going back and rewatching it for the dozenth time that night and figuring out, like, hey, what could I have done better just to make that throw not happen the next time? And you're an NFL quarterback. You're never supposed to miss that throw, you know? But then you come out and you put string some good plays together and you regain that confidence. And I think that definitely, helped me a little bit.
There you go. That was Will Levis today, the man at practice. Let's go to Anthony, who's up next on the program. Thank you for waiting. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, Jared, what's up, man? Listen, I got the magic formula. I'm old school, right? Think Young, Rodgers, these guys that sat on the bench for 3 years. Let's just cool our jets. Tannehill just got us to a championship a couple years ago. Let's let him develop. Let's figure out whether he has it. Let even Mahomes sat on the bench for 3 years. All the greatest.
Mahomes sat on the bench for 1 year. And it was league MVP in year 2.
Okay, all right, okay. But still, he did not start in year 1, right? They had time to evaluate.
Sure.
Young was 2 or 3 years and whatever. We have all the pieces right now, right? You have Brown and you know what I'm talking about. Put 2.0 with Hopkins and Treylon and let everything is ready for Tannehill, and you can let Levis season. Let him get ready. That's my magic formula.
Anthony, I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate your call.
All right.
And I don't think the Titans disagree with you either. Vrabel said there's a competition for the quarterback spot, not the starting quarterback spot. It's the competition for the backup quarterback spot. And I think for the most part, I think we're all in agreement, right? I think we're all in agreement. Tannehill is the starter. The varsity team. You guys are the varsity, and then some guys play JV, and then they'll play up on the varsity. But the varsity team for me, Tannehill, Henry, Burks, Hopkins, Okonkwo, Simmons, Autry, Landry, Arden Key, Tier Tart, Azeez Al-Shire, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, Christian Fulton. Did I leave anybody out?
Nothing comes to mind.
I mean, there's not an offensive lineman that I think is on the varsity team. I think they all need to play in the preseason. They're all in the JV. Did I put Fulton in there?
Yeah.
I think Vrabel kind of hates Fulton, truth be told.
He needs a big year, huh?
I just, it's a gut feeling, but I think Vrabel kind of hates him. Texter in the text line says the quarterback rankings are ridiculous. They remind me of all the stupid baseball Hall of Fame writers that don't vote for the players to prove some bogus point. All Tannehill does is work hard and is a team guy that you can win with if you surround him. You could do a heck of a lot worse like every single non-elite quarterback. That's from Mark in the Borough. Well, somebody said to me, they were like, you said Tannehill would never win. Right. And he's 22nd on the list, and Kyler Murray, who I think is going to win less, is 13th. Dak Prescott, who I don't think is going to win, is 9th. That might be the difference there. The big question that we ended last week's show with was how many 5-year-olds would it take to tackle Derrick Henry? Somebody asked Paul Kaharski in his mailbag that. He asked Derrick Henry on Friday. Derrick didn't have an answer. We talked about it at length. Vrabel was asked today, how many 5-year-olds would it take to tackle Derrick Henry?
How many 5-year-olds would it take to tackle Derrick Henry?
A ton.
I don't even know if they could. How many kids would die in the process, I would imagine. I don't know. Do I need to give you a number? Like a legitimate number? What's the area? Is it confined space?
I think he's maybe standing, starting to move.
Within they have 5 yards. Okay, so let's say he's got a 10-yard wide space. It would probably take 35. You want to try it? Test it out?
Yeah, can we try it?
Sure, as long as you're one of the 5-year-olds.
Okay. So I was thinking about this because a lot of people have asked, like Rabel said, what's the area here? So back in the day when I used to play Madden football, which I don't play anymore, I don't know if they still have this or not. They should, but they used to have training camp drills. And you would take the Madden tour bus around to these different teams, and some teams would have like a punting drill, and some teams would have a kicking drill, and some teams would have defensive drills, and some teams would have quarterback drills. And one of the drills was a running back and a linebacker drill, where there would be these lineman dummies, and the quarterback would turn around and hand the ball to the running back, and there'd be 3 linebackers or whatever, and they'd have to tackle the running back. I don't think I did a very good job describing that. But if you played the old version of Madden football, you know what I'm talking about. And that's what I think of, right? So an equipment guy is in the center position handing Tannehill the football. So Joey, the equipment guy, he's got the ball. He's handing it to Tannehill, and then he's not part of the play. Tannehill's turning around and handing the ball to Henry, and then Henry is running, and he's got a couple of dummy linemen, but they're not actually blocking. How many 5-year-olds would you have to put on the other side of the line of scrimmage to be able to run down Derrick Henry and tackle him? Aaron Brewer was asked the same question. Here's what he said.
Coach said it would take 35 5-year-olds to tackle Derrick Henry in a 10-yard box.
35 5-year-olds to tackle Derrick Henry in the box?
In a box, in a 10-yard box.
I don't think it'd take 35. I think it'd take about a good 200 maybe.
200?
Probably, 35 not enough.
When you were 5, would you have taken on that task?
I would. I went at them ankles. So.
Okay. So, again, I don't even remember what I said Friday.
You said 10.
I was about to say 10. I think 10 could get it done. I truly believe that 10.
If he has the ball and he's running with momentum, there's no way.
So, again, Tannehill's handing him the ball. Tannehill's the only other real person on the field.
So no linemen.
So there's little, stationary, tackling dummies.
I mean, if Henry has the ball.
Hands him the ball, and he's got a running start.
Yeah, if he's got a running start and he's got the ball, it's not going to be pretty for some kids. I'll tell you that. Oh, boy. If he's just standing there and he kind of has the ball and he starts walking slowly, I could see them doing some damage. But otherwise, that's going to be not pretty.
What do you think of Vrabel's answer at 35?
I mean, that's more reasonable than your 10, for sure.
That's it